The day I entered this world, I didn't shed a single tear. My mother, Mia, thought she had been blessed with a perfectly obedient newborn, but she had no idea. Between the endless cycles of nursing and formula, my absolute favorite pastime was simply staring up at the ceiling. Naturally, Mia assumed her precious infant was just exceptionally quiet and introverted. Little did she know the shocking truth. The real reason I was constantly spacing out was the glowing system interface hovering in my mind's eye, relentlessly pushing me toward my first evolution. Gulping down the last drop of milk, my digital energy bar finally hit 100%. And then, a brilliant golden alert flashed across my vision, demanding my full attention. First evolution stage unlocked. Please select your destiny. 3 distinct pathways materialized before me, each radiating with hidden potential. I fell into deep contemplation. Pathway 1 was rapid growth. It promised a 10% boost to my physical development. But honestly, it felt way too generic. Pathways 2 and 3 offered raw enhancements to my base stats, making this a surprisingly difficult choice. Just looking at their epic titles, it was obvious they led down 2 entirely different realms of power. After 3 agonizing seconds of heavy calculation, memories of my past life flashed before my eyes. Back then, I was a miserable content creator, constantly chased by the relentless demands of my subscribers. I would grind away past 3 in the morning, night after night, until my mortal vessel completely shattered. That devastating burnout taught me one undeniable truth. A titanium-forged body is the foundation of absolute power. With my resolve set, I poured my willpower into the system and selected the human beast evolution path. Instantly, my physique stat skyrocketed to level 2. A terrifying new energy rippled through my tiny limbs. The transformation was breathtaking. My tiny lungs expanded as my breathing grew incredibly deep and rhythmic. The newborn brain fog vanished completely. My mind was razor sharp, but then, a monstrous rumble echoed from my stomach. The hunger was absolute agony. But the most shocking upgrade of all was my newly awakened vision. The blurry world sharpened into stunning high definition. I could actually read the news broadcast flashing on the screen, from all the way across the room. I stared in absolute awe, instinctively shoving my little fist into my mouth as I chewed happily. I was completely mesmerized by the data flowing across the television. But suddenly, pitch black. Mia had killed the power. With a gentle sigh, she pulled my drool-soaked fingers away from my face. A look of utter confusion crossed her face. How could a 1-week-old infant possibly be analyzing the morning news? She leaned in close, inspecting me with suspicious eyes. She quickly realized my gaze was unusually sharp and overflowing with intelligence. Scooping me into her arms, she swiftly carried me away from the danger zone of the living room. "No television for babies," she scolded gently. "It will ruin those precious eyes." But deep inside my mind, I was screaming in protest. "Put me back! My enhanced vision is completely indestructible." Mia braced herself for a typical newborn meltdown, but I simply puffed out my cheeks in annoyance. Overjoyed by my maturity, she swooped down and planted a massive kiss right on my cheek. I aggressively turned my head away, completely mortified, trapped with the proud soul of a 17-year-old. This suffocating level of affection was pure psychological torture, but my defensive maneuver backfired completely. Mia took my rejection as a playful invitation, and her eyes practically sparkled. "Does my little warrior want mommy to kiss the other cheek too?" she cooed, diving in for a critical strike. Just as her lips connected, a devastating wave of starvation crashed through my evolved body. Opening my mouth, I released 2 precise, tactical cries. Then, I settled back down and waited like a king for my royal banquet. It was a flawless strategy. Over the past few days, Mia and I had established a highly efficient communication protocol. 2 tearless cries meant my energy reserves were low. If my armor suffered a catastrophic failure, I simply wailed while violently tugging at my diaper. A magical infant who could telegraph his needs with military precision. This genius system eliminated all the guesswork, making me the absolute ultimate low-maintenance child. Mia practically hummed with joy as she mixed the formula. "If only raising your older sister Koko had been this peaceful," she sighed. At the mere mention of that forbidden name, a visible twitch violently interrupted my stoic baby facade. My entire expression froze in sheer dread. Noticing my reaction, Mia pressed the warm bottle into my tiny hands with an amused smirk. Oh my, why the grumpy face, little hero? Just from hearing your older sister's name? Blindly and latch right on. The first bottle vanishes in an absolute instant, but my tiny stomach is far from crazed. Satisfied, I smack my lips and unleash another demanding wail. It takes completely draining a prize. Second bottle in a single breath. Before a satisfied, milky burp finally escapes me, with my ravenous appetite expanding day by day. My system energy gauge steadily climbs at 2% daily. If this perfect pacing holds, I will trigger my second awakening in less than a month. Suddenly, a little girl, around 7 or 8 years old, bursts violently through the front door. Her academy uniform skirt is totally wrecked, and her pristine white knee socks are absolutely caked in battle mud. She struts in wearing a pair of bright red leather Izzes that smack the floorboards like tiny drum beats with every confident step. Mia takes exactly one look at the absolute state of her and narrows her eyes. Just who did you brawl with today? The little troublemaker lifts her chin with utter defiance. I am getting stronger. I took down 2 of them today. Mia simply turns back to Grove, her kitchen prep, ruthlessly scolding her reckless daughter without missing a beat. Koko violently pouts, refusing to talk back, though her rebellious eyes scan the living room. That is exactly when she catches me staring right at her. A smirk creeps across my baby face, dripping with undeniable sarcasm and silent mockery. She lets out a sharp scoff, flashing her tiny canines, and then placed hair, fiercely shakes her tiny fist at me. A crystal-clear death threat. Just then, Marcus steps into the house. He reaches down to scoop me up, but Mia instantly scrunches her nose at the heavy stench of smoke clinging to his clothes. Denied his fatherly rights, he sighs, rolls up his sleeves, and marches straight into the kitchen to do prep work. Before long, the entire chaotic family gathers around the dinner table. About halfway through our meal, Marcus suddenly stands, pops open the chilling unit, and reaches deep inside, extracting a handful of strange, candy-like cubes. At first glance, I figure they are just ordinary treats for the household pets. But then, Marcus casually drops one into Mia's bowl, one into Coco's, one for the feline, and keeps one for himself. An equal share for everyone. Koko aggressively slams her chopsticks onto the table. I refuse to eat that garbage. It tastes like absolute poison. Marcus glares back. You only eat this once a week, so quit whining. Do you in very tense places honestly think you could win those schoolyard brawls without its power? Koko instantly freezes. The harsh truth hits her pride. Her face scrunches up in a bitter internal struggle. Finally, she violently squeezes her eyes shut and forces the mysterious cube down her throat. My curiosity is burning. What on earth is that strange artifact? It said, is not until I eavesdrop on Marcus and Mia later that night that I uncover its true name. Crystal bee jelly. They casually toss around cryptic terminology I cannot yet decode. I quickly lift Crade, my milk bottle, to conceal the absolute shock rocking my tiny features. It seems this new reality holds far deeper and darker secrets than I ever anticipated. Exactly 1 month passes. I watch the system energy bar hit 100%, forcefully triggering my second stage of evolution. 3 paths materialize before me. This time, I select the cerebral psiform evolution route. The exact second my mental stat increases by a single point, I feel the flow of time brutally warp and slow around me. No, more accurately, my brain's processing speed has explosively accelerated to godlike levels. The entire past month of gathered data flashes through my consciousness at a blinding breakneck pace. While my newly upgraded mind is still calibrating, Mia suddenly scoops me into the air and gently places me onto a grand red ceremonial mat. The fabric is scattered with an array of mysterious, everyday artifacts. Following ancient tradition, a newborn's a fact 1 month milestone demands the legendary catching ceremony. Whatever artifact this infant claims is destined to forge their permanent fate and future class. I kneel on the crimson silk, ready to just grab any random junk and get this boring ritual over with. But suddenly, the system interface violently flickers to life, unlocking a brand new module, the class selection interface. As I stare back at the scattered earthly items, glowing holographic tags hover over every single piece. First up, a mechanical keyboard. The system scans it and projects the title, content, creator, class debuffs, pitiful income, critical risk of mental burnout, premature death, and relentless harassment from rabid fans screaming for daily updates. I immediately shove that cursed artifact away in horror and scan the rest of the way. Ceremonial mat. The remaining class options are wildly chaotic, and some radiate a dangerously overwhelming risk. I drag my tiny frame across the floor, scanning the choices until 3 distinct paths appear. Sniper, Explorer, Striker. As the system burns these legendary options into my mind, I carefully legendary baxes the country. Consider my human-beast evolution path. There is only one logical choice here. By choosing the Striker class and mastering absolute martial arts, I can maximize every ounce of my physical potential. Without hesitating, I scramble forward on all fours, snatching the heavy boxing glove into my tiny embrace. A triumphant, knowing smile crosses my face. Suddenly, a glowing blue panel materializes. Primary class, Striker, successfully loaded. The skill tree might be completely empty right now, but my soul is absolutely roaring with anticipation. Until this very moment, my only leveling method was consuming ungodly amounts of nutrients. But let us face reality. An infant's stomach has a harsh capacity limit. I could only trigger one awakening per month at best. But now, with the system fully unlocked, I can acquire devastating skills. Alongside my bodily growth, I can grind my levels and evolve simultaneously. Just picturing that endless power makes me smirk like a complete villain. Once the selection ritual concludes, I immediately scheme my path to unlocking new abilities. But there is a glaring issue. Martial arts training requires me to actually walk and jump first. Scanning the glowing interface, I realize the explosive damage and agility multipliers displayed on screen are completely useless without an ironclad physical vessel. They absolutely demand a monumental base stat to even activate. So, the grand strategy remains crystal clear. My absolute highest priority is skyrocketing my basic physique stat. For the next 30 days, I transform into a ruthless machine, completely dedicated to consuming milk. Day in and day out, I devour endless streams of mother's milk and mountain-sized bottles of bark. Nutrient formula. The grind pays off. The golden energy bar surges upward until it shatters the threshold for my third grind. Awakening! This time around, I lock in the human-beast pathway without a single second of hesitation. Once this bodily vessel is fortified, this tiny infant form will wield the devastating explosive force of a primeval tiger. It is the ultimate disguise, perfectly harmless on the outside, lethal on the inside. No enemy would ever suspect that. A toddler in literal diapers is secretly a lethal martial artist. As the system registers my physique stat, hitting level 3, a legendary surge of raw power floods through my tiny legs. I slam both hands against the wooden bars of my crib, forcing my trembling body to rise against gravity. Right at that monumental second, Mia steps into the daughter room. She gasps in absolute shock. He is standing. The baby stood up all by himself. Her eyes light up like fireworks. She is utterly paralyzed by the fact that her 2-month-old infant has conquered the physics of standing. What an absolute genius! She squeals, throwing her arms wide to catch me if my aura wavers. Knowing my safety net is in place, I ignite my willpower and push beyond my limits. The massive master bed becomes my sacred training dojo. I attempt the impossible, releasing my grip to stand solely on my own 2 feet. After in 7 tasting the mattress a dozen times. I finally anchor myself. My stance wobbles like a leaf in a storm, but I am upright. Securing my center of gravity, I initiate my very first step. The sheer coordination is brutally hard to control. Every single advance ends in a devastating faceplant. But the moment I hit the cushions, I rebound like a compressed spring, radiating endless determination. Mia observes my grind from the sidelines, a soft, prideful smile gracing her features. I relentlessly drill my footwork for 30 grueling minutes before the exhaustion debuff finally triggers. As my stamina gauge plummets to gal 45%, my vision blurs, and I collapse into the absolute void of sleep. But this third awakening has blessed me with an unexpected gift. My vocal cords are fully forged. The time has come to master the ancient art of human speech. What is this word, my sweet baby? Lawyer. That is perfect. Such a brilliant mind. Mia has never submitted me for clinical evaluation, but watching me conquer linguistic barriers at lightning speed, she is 100% certain she birthed an unparalleled prodigy. Nurturing my growth is an effortless, massively rewarding experience for her. Watching my power level rise fills her heart with a profound, radiant joy. But she is entirely clueless, because whenever she carries me into the family study, I am vibrating with even more psychotic excitement. Since my territory is strictly confined indoors, devouring academic texts is my brand, sole pathway to secretly unlocking new system skills. However, my access to digital artifacts like phones, monitors, and television screens is heavily restricted by my warden, Mia. For the time being, my ultimate strategy involves I needed a way to master combat on my own. Finding myself in the family study, I stood before the massive bookshelves, scanning the titles with fierce concentration. Then, there it was, the Holy Grail, the beginner's guide to martial arts. I locked eyes on the prize, pointing a chubby finger as I stammered. Book? Want book? Is this the one you want, sweetie? My mother was completely baffled. Why on earth would her infant son want a combat guide? Still, she smiled and handed it down. I snatched it up, my eyes devouring the pages with absolute intensity. I studied every stance, absorbing the foundational technique breakdowns. The path to power was becoming clear. The combat diagrams looked simple enough for my tiny body to mimic. Time to test my limits. I clenched my fists and threw punch after punch, constantly checking the ancient-looking text to perfect my form. 30 grueling minutes later. Ding! The glowing system interface finally updated. +1 experience point in basic fist technique. A wave of sheer triumph washed over me. This proved that self-training was a legitimate cheat code. Driven by pure adrenaline, I unleashed a flurry of strikes, pushing myself past the limit until my stamina plummeted to 35%. Suddenly, the world spun into darkness, and I collapsed onto the mattress, completely unconscious. A ravenous hunger eventually clawed me back to reality. It was already 10 at night. My brutal training session demanded fuel, and I practically inhaled 3 whole bottles of infant formula before letting out a loud, triumphant burp. Initially, my mother saw my freeze, bottomless stomach as a blessing. After all, a growing baby needs his strength, but reality hit hard when I drained an entire premium tin in just 2 days. Panic began to creep into her voice as she reviewed the family finances. Despite both my parents earning stable salaries as public educators, my monstrous appetite was pushing them to the brink. From my crib, I overheard my mother pacing the kitchen, whispering about ending her maternity leave early. She needed the extra teaching hours just to keep our heads above water. I played the part of a clueless infant, but my mind was racing. I crunched the numbers in secret. My physical evolution demanded massive amounts of energy. The hunger would only grow worse. If my family went bankrupt, my growth would stall completely. I had to formulate a plan to generate serious income. Sure, it sounded completely absurd for a 3-month-old baby to plot financial dominance, but desperate times call for desperate measures. I decided to bide my time. Perhaps exploring the academy next month would reveal a golden opportunity. The next night, a rare sense of joy filled the dining room. My father had incredible news. The academy had officially promoted him to instruct the elite advanced class. With this new title came a massive salary bump and a golden ticket to climbing the professional ranks. The future was looking bright. He popped open a cold drink, a proud, victorious smile plastered across his face. The heavy atmosphere finally lifted. Seizing the moment, my mother dropped her own announcement. She was returning to the academy immediately. She refused to let my father carry the burden alone. Glancing at the terrifying expense reports caused by my appetite, my father nodded in grim agreement. Then, his expression turned deadly serious. I will also petition the Geological Survey Bureau. Let us pray I can secure another entry permit for the Echo Realm. The Echo Realm? A shiver ran down my tiny spine. This was the second time that forbidden name had been spoken. My survival instincts screamed that this place was a death trap. Meanwhile, my older sister sat, pouting at the end of the table. She had only grasped one tragic detail from this entire summit. Her monstrous baby brother was eating away her precious allowance. She locked her furious gaze onto me, eyes burning with childish betrayal. Why do you need so much milk anyway? It just goes right through you. Have you ever heard of tap water, you little glutton? I completely ignored her logic, flashing the most innocent, empty-headed baby grin I could summon. To seal the deal, a single drop of drool escaped my lips. How dare you speak to your brother like that? My mother instantly rushed to my defense, glaring at my sister. Look at your own mountain of food. You're eating nothing but meat again. I keep telling you to eat your vegetables, she scolds. But her words fall on deaf ears. I need pure protein to build raw strength. How else am I supposed to crush those two annoying brats in my class? The dinner table erupts into chaotic laughter, and somehow, that lively noise makes the meal feel incredibly warm. But playtime is over. After a solid week of endlessly drilling the martial basics, I'm finally ready for my program. Very first taste of real combat. My chosen opponent? The apex predator of our household. The family cat, Pumpkin. Ever since I began my secret physical conditioning, this feline has been watching my every move from the claws. Shadows. Bizarrely enough, ever since my second evolution granted me an extra point in example, intelligence, a hidden perk awakened. I can actually understand the secret language behind those feline meows. Pumpkin lets out a sharp cry. The message is crystal clear. The beast is challenging me to a duel. I instantly drop into my fighting stance. Pumpkin mirrors my intensity, golden eyes locking onto mine with deadly focus. One infant, one feline, matched in size, completely equal in weight. The flames of absolute battle spirit ignite within my prowess. Eyes. Without a shred of warning, the beast strikes. Pumpkin launches through the air like a furry missile, aiming straight for my center. I fail to hold a my ground against the sheer momentum. And bam! I get slammed flat onto my back. The victor stands triumphantly upon my chest, both front paws pinning me down without mercy. We lock eyes in dead silence. The sheer awkwardness of my defeat is entirely mutual. Pumpkin lets out a pitiful, mocking meow. The translation? You seriously thought that pathetic stance was going to work, kid? Can you even defend yourself? I stare at the ceiling, utterly humbled. I never expected my grand debut as a striker to end in a furry, humiliating knockout. But a true martial artist never quits. After that devastating loss, I throw myself into the daily grind with terrifying focus. By the time my fourth evolution triggers, and my physical stats surge dramatically, the results are undeniable. I'm flawlessly throwing crisp hooks and chaining together deadly combos, with footwork that absolutely defies my infant age. Pulling up my glowing system interface, I review the numbers. For a baby barely 6 months old, this monstrous progress brings a wicked smirk to my face. At this insane grinding pace, I'll officially break through to a level 1 striker before I even blow out my first birthday candle. I set my sights on today's ultimate goal. If I can just grind my basic fist technique experience straight to 100 birds today, there has to be a massive system reward waiting for me. The raw anticipation makes my blood boil as I look sought. Forward to the power spike. Boom! The exact moment my basic fist technique shatters the level 1 barrier. The glowing class interface materializes right on cue. A golden notification flashes before my eyes. Reward claimed. 3 free attribute points. Without a single second of hesitation, I dump all 3 points directly into my physique stat. Pure power surges through me. I might just look like a slightly tall, chubby baby on the outside. But trust me, underneath these soft infant clothes, my core is forged like absolute iron. Sure, my body fat is still a bit high from all the aggressive eating. And not even my hardcore daily regimen has carved out a chiseled six-pack yet. But the dense, explosive energy coiled within me, it already pulses with the terrifying aura of a juvenile human, navigating the system. I check the dual progress bars of my evolution paths. Staring at my massive physique stat of 11.05, I calculate that hitting the 30% threshold will finally unlock the true juvenile human beast. Stage. After finishing my brutal extra sets for the day, I quietly crawl over to the study room door and peek inside. Mia is in the middle of broadcasting her online lecture. Today's topic? A legendary ancient text, known as the Peach Blossom Spring. Having finished breaking down the classical verses, she begins revealing the terrifying hidden lore behind the myth. The spring breeze drifts through the ancient Peach Grove, she explains, a realm of absolute peace. But the truth is, the Peach Blossom Spring was, in ancient times, one of the few known gateways into the deadly void. My eyes widen in shock. Its true location isn't even unexpected. Earth. It exists in a space unimaginably far away, tethered to our world, only by a fragile dimensional bridge. The revelation sends chills down my spine. The tragedy of the ancients who crossed over was that they never returned. They simply lacked the overwhelming power to master those dimensional rifts. She pauses, her tone shifting. But humanity has evolved. Today, through the heavily guarded National Void Entrance Number 3, authorized awakened beings can traverse into the Peach Blossom Spring with absolute ease. Leaning against the wooden doorframe, I absorb every single word. So, that terrifying domain is the void. But then, what on earth is the Echo Realm? The mystery gnaws at me until dinner, when Marcus finally gives me the grim truth. The void, kid, is a chaotic nightmare where the very laws of time and space are shattered to pieces. Take one single step, and you might cross over into an entirely different dimension. Stand perfectly still, for just a fleeting moment, and a full century could vanish in the outside world. The Echo Realm is a miraculous anomaly born within the boundless void. Think of it as a flawless replica of a specific fragment of time and space. Imagine spending an ordinary day at home. The profound void duplicates that exact day, creating countless parallel instances. It may be a mere copy, but the dangers and treasures inside are terrifyingly real. Awakened humans from our reality breach these echo realms through dimensional rifts to farm vital resources. In simple terms, it is exactly like raiding a high-level dungeon. Marcus wraps up his lecture, catching me, lost in deep thought. Did you actually understand a word of that? I offer a solemn nod, but a chilling realization freezes my expression. Dad, what if we are the ones who were copied? Marcus stares back in absolute shock. Not only did his toddler grasp the complex theory, but he is, quote, already piercing through the mysteries of reality itself. Marcus lets out a hearty laugh. Copied. Existences crumble into dust the second they step out of their echo realm. We, however, navigate the void freely, proving our souls are authentic. Shortly after this profound chat, Marcus catches me initiating my daily combat routine. He had actually noticed me some time ago, studying the Advanced Martial Arts Manual. I was flawlessly mirroring the stances, grinding through probably every lethal technique independently. But on this very day, just as he turns his back, the tensed, complex strike combination I execute halts him completely in his tracks. He spins around, locking his stunned gaze upon me. Dad, is something wrong? Catching his utterly bewildered expression, I halt my relentless training. It is nothing, Marcus mutters, his proud smile looking incredibly stiff. You are mastering these martial arts at a terrifying pace. A determined look crosses his face as he makes a vow. Starting tomorrow, the moment your sister returns from the academy, I will forge both of you together in the crucible of training. My blood boils with excitement. He is a veteran instructor. After all, Koko, however, looks like she is marching straight to her doom. The very next evening, Marcus subjects Koko to a brutal physical conditioning routine before shifting his intense focus to my combat mastery. Realizing my striking power has far surpassed mere basics, he instantly transitions to foundational kicking techniques. He deconstructs every lethal motion, shadow his every move, absorbing the martial intent, relentlessly refining my deadly precision. The flow of power slowly becomes second nature. Suddenly, a glowing system notification erupts in my vision. I blink in sheer disbelief before a tsunami of overwhelming hype courses through my very soul. The ultimate system module has finally been unsealed. I trigger mirror mode instantly to unleash its potential. My pupils contract and my aura sharpens into an absolute weapon. My vision transforms into an all-seeing lens, perfectly capturing every single daughter's microscopic detail of Marcus's demonstration, analyzing, mimicking, evolving. My martial forms reach godlike perfection with every single strike. Marcus begins to sense an impossible shift in his offspring. Mere seconds ago, the boy still required fundamental corrections and minute stance adjustments. But now, every devastating strike is an undeniable masterpiece. Staring at his heaven-defying child, Marcus releases a heavy, trembling sigh. When he and his wife decided to bring a second life into this world, they only prayed for a peaceful, ordinary kid. Nothing like the chaotic Koko. Instead, they birthed an absolute monster. At 1 month old, perfect cognitive vision, crawling, standing, and walking completely unassisted. By 2 months, speaking fluently. By 3 months, mastering acrobatics and self-teaching lethal combat arts. Marcus rapidly pulls up the National Prodigy Development Act, his eyes locking onto a 10 million yuan government grant awarded to the family. The gears in his mind spin wildly. The moment I catch wind of this legendary 10 million yuan bounty for my genius, I ruthlessly pressure my dad to enlist me. We fire off the digital application, but lurking in that, the verdict was absolute. Rejected, all because I had not reached the minimum age requirement of 2 years old. Marcus gently told me not to stress over it. After all, a prestigious national-level program demanded sky-high standards. He believed it was perfectly fine if we failed to qualify. But my pride refused to accept such defeat. I forced Marcus to download 5 whole terabytes of study. From dawn to dusk, I locked myself at home, grinding experience points and abusing mirror mode with every fiber of my being. I would claim that $10 million grant, no matter what. Later that evening, the highly anticipated weekly supplement distribution began. Mia pulled 4 shimmering pieces of crystal bee jelly from the carton. As she prepared to hand out the precious resource, I finally made my move. Mom, can I try a tiny piece of that? Since my baby teeth had fully grown in and my system was already handling regular meat and fish without issue, Mia gently offered me a sliver from her own portion. But the legends were true. This stuff was just as horrifying as Koko had warned. Mia dissolved the tiny fragment into a cup of hot water, and the foul stench that rose from the cup was an entirely different breed of nightmare. Yet, for the sake of my ultimate evolution, I steeled my absolute resolve. With my jaw clenched and breath held tight, I downed the vile liquid like a lethal poison. I did not dare exhale until every last drop hit my stomach. At first, a nauseating insect-like stench exploded across my taste buds, nearly making me violently gag. But then, a miraculous wave of pure, radiant warmth surged down my throat. It felt absolutely divine. The system interface suddenly chimed, alerting me to a massive spike in my energy bar. The sheer numbers left me utterly speechless. A complete piece of crystal B. Jelly weighed exactly 10 grams. I had consumed less than a single gram, yet my energy gauge instantly skyrocketed by 2%. Just one single gram held the exact same nutritional power as an entire day's worth of baby formula. Ingredients harvested from the void were truly on a completely different level. For the next 2 grueling weeks, I poured all my focus into mastering kicks and agile footwork. By keeping mirror mode continuously active around the clock, my kick technique and footwork mastery both successfully leveled up to level 1. These twin breakthroughs rewarded me with a glorious total of 6 free attribute points. But this time, I held back from dumping everything straight into my physique stat, reviewing the hidden notes in my talent interface regarding mirror mode. I discovered a crucial detail. To unlock the skill's true copying potential, my mental power needed a drastic upgrade. Without hesitation, I opened the glowing blue panel and dumped all 6 points directly into my mental stat. The backlash was instantaneous. It felt like a torrential waterfall of freezing ice had crashed directly onto my skull, chilling me straight down to the bone. My scalp went completely numb. The thick veins on my forehead began to violently bulge out. My very consciousness felt like it was being brutally shredded into pieces. But when the terrifying agony finally faded and I opened my eyes, the entire world had transformed into a razor-sharp, high-definition landscape. Eager to test my newfound mental clarity, I immediately activated mirror mode. I began perfectly mimicking Selful, the lazy meows of our household cat, Master Ginger. The grumpy orange tabby tilted his furry head in sheer confusion. I echoed his exact vocal pitch right back at him. His chubby feline face instantly dropped into a scowl. His judging eyes clearly said, "This foolish two-legged servant is mocking my noble language, and it is incredibly offensive." Giving me an arrogant flick of his tail, he turned his back and strutted away. But right at that very moment, a golden line of text flashed across my system screen. Simply by activating mirror mode and copying a handful of grumpy cat noises, I had miraculously unlocked the ancient feline language skill. I spent the next 30 minutes locked in an intense, non-stop meowing debate with Master Ginger, and my efforts paid off. The beast tongue feline skill successfully gained 2 precious experience points, but there was a major flaw in my training method. Master Ginger was an absolutely terrible instructor. He lazily repeated the exact same 3 annoyed complaints on an endless loop, showing zero passion for my magical education. This made me wonder, if I could push my basic psychic form to its ultimate evolution, would I finally unlock the god-tier ability of direct telepathic communication? And so, alongside my intense daily physical training, I developed a rather eccentric new hobby: casually conversing with the neighborhood cats. Time flew by in a flash, and the sweltering heat of summer rapidly approached. The terrifying spring flu epidemic had finally faded into history. Anxious parents everywhere were finally able to breathe a massive, collective sigh of relief. On the rare days when Mia did not have online university classes to attend, she would eagerly wheel my baby stroller out into the local neighborhood. Her desperate maternal hope was simple. She wanted me to socialize with normal human toddlers my own age, rather than spending my entire youth at home, aggressively meowing at the local feline population. My strange behavior was clearly starting to seriously worry her. Meanwhile, I just sat there. Sitting in my stroller, I quietly surveyed the other infants around me. Suddenly, a little girl erupted into tears, quickly followed by a wailing boy. Whatever their problem was, the noise was absolutely deafening. Soon, the other mothers noticed my stoic silence. No crying, no fussing, not even a thumb in my mouth. They immediately showered Mia with praise. "Your baby is incredibly well behaved. If my child was this calm, I'd wake up smiling every day." Mia beamed with pure pride. But she had warned me to keep a low profile in public and never speak a word. If I showed my true intellect, the neighborhood would go crazy. Suddenly, an eagle-eyed mother chimed in. "His gaze is so piercing. Have you tested his intelligence yet?" He radiates pure prodigy energy. I've read articles that geniuses reveal their true talents at just 1 or 2 years old. Mia nervously waved off the compliments, panicking for an excuse. But before she could speak, an overly eager auntie marched up to my stroller. Holding up a single finger, she cooed, "How many fingers is this? Guess correctly, and auntie will give you a sweet treat." The entire crowd held their breath. After all, for a baby barely 6 months old, to understand and speak would be undeniable proof of a monstrous intellect. Playing the fool, I completely ignored the nosy humans and locked eyes with a stray cat lurking by the flower bed. Babbling excitedly, I reached out for the feline. The crowd let out a collective sigh of disappointment. While Mia exhaled in massive relief, the stray glanced over, deemed me unworthy of its time, and vanished into the shadows. Still, this territory was crawling with strays. The next time I got a chance, I would definitely farm them for beast tongue experience points. Ever since dumping 6 points into my mental stats, my comprehension had skyrocketed. I could now master high-level combat techniques just by watching video tutorials. My striker class was only 21% away from leveling up. A thrill of pure anticipation coursed through my veins. What legendary rewards awaited me at the next stage? For the following days, I pushed my infant body to its absolute limits, grinding 3 intense training sessions daily. 2 weeks later, with a racing heart, I summoned the system interface. The golden prompt flashed. "Do you wish to advance?" I slammed the yes button without a second thought. As the glorious light faded, the rewards for my first class awakening blew my expectations out of the water. Staring at my newly unlocked striker specialization, the devastating weak point strike, my tiny fists trembled with battle lust. With this supreme technique in my arsenal, I finally stood a fighting chance against Pumpkin. I dumped all 10 reward points into my stats. Instantly, a volcanic surge of aura erupted from my core. My baby arms visibly thickened with raw muscle. Just a slight flex made my tiny biceps bulge. My mind ascended to a new realm of clarity. Months of grueling martial arts training, fused into perfect muscle memory. Brimming with overwhelming power, it was time to settle the score. But when I confronted Pumpkin, the arrogant beast merely yawned in my face. I held my ground, flashing a confident smirk. "Pumpkin, let us do battle." The feline stretched its limbs, its whiskers curling into a dangerously cold sneer. A terrifying chill crawled down my spine. Had I awakened a sleeping demon? In a split second, Pumpkin shrieked and completely vanished from my line of sight, launching a blindingly fast strike aimed right at my feet. The beast expected another easy victory, but I was no longer the pathetic, helpless infant from before. As the beast closed in, upon contact, I roll with the momentum, clean and perfectly controlled. I absorb the massive impact and land flawlessly. My stance is rock solid, immediately widening the gap between us. Pumpkin freezes. Those glowing amber eyes widen with pure shock. I shift my weight, settling into a flawless combat stance. My fists fly up, guarding my face. A textbook Sanda kickboxing posture. Let us continue this dance. Pumpkin blurs into a furry shadow. The beast charges once more. The legendary feline barrage begins, this time at absolute maximum velocity. Claws completely retracted. It weaponizes its soft paw pads like heavy fists. The creature unleashes an utterly relentless storm of strikes. I refuse to clash head-on. Instead, my footwork flows like water, circling the beast, hunting for a critical opening. Pumpkin's explosive speed is overwhelmingly terrifying. To the untrained eye, the feline completely dominates the battlefield. But the moment it launches into the air to deliver the finishing blow, with a single devastating pounce, I trigger my weak point strike ability. My leg snaps up in a vicious high kick, aimed directly at Pumpkin's vulnerable underbelly. The strike is mere millimeters away, but suddenly, Pumpkin violently twists in midair, defying gravity to alter its trajectory. The beast crashes heavily onto the cushioned sofa beside us. It violently shakes its head, its amber eyes trembling with absolute disbelief. How could this tiny two-legged creature actually push it back? I collapse onto the cushions right next to it, gasping heavily for air. The brutal clash lasted barely 3 minutes, yet the sheer mental concentration has completely drained my life force. I pull up the system interface to verify my experience points. Incredible. That brief skirmish yielded a full hour's worth of intense training data. I slowly turn toward Pumpkin with eyes full of hope. So, shall we cross fists again in the future? Almost as if, acknowledging my warrior's potential, the feline's fierce aura softens completely. It lets out a quiet, dignified meow of agreement. I immediately rush over to my new master, clasping my hands firmly together. In a deeply respectful bow of gratitude, the wheels of time turn rapidly. By my 9th month of life, I stand towering at 87 centimeters, boasting the physical frame of an average 2-year-old toddler. Yet, when measuring my true combat capabilities, I shattered the teenage power benchmark ages ago. You see, parents in this extraordinary realm treat early childhood development like a martial arts arms race. Armed with the legendary crystal bee jelly, infants evolve at an absolutely terrifying pace. A mere 1-year-old who can effortlessly sprint and hunt for food is considered completely average here. Then, one fateful afternoon, I carry a chilled can of sparkling water directly to Koko. She instantly detects my approach, her sharp eyes narrowing with heavy suspicion. "State your business," she demands. "This is a tribute for you. I offer the sacred beverage. Will you accept my challenge to a duel?" Koko glares at me, absolutely certain her ears are malfunctioning. Granted, this tiny monster has been evolving rapidly, but she stands at a towering 122 centimeters, a whole head above this arrogant infant. To challenge her to a spar, this is as basically begging for total annihilation. But, meeting those burning, determined little eyes, a warrior's spirit awakens deep within her soul, and her very fists begin to itch for a glorious battle. 60 seconds of intense diplomatic negotiation later, the two of us securely lock the bedroom doors behind us. Koko violently cracks her knuckles, a demonic grin stretching across her face. Our absolute contract is set. When I crush you, there will be no shedding tears, and absolutely zero snitching to mother. Understood? I shall take this secret to my grave. Exploding off my left foot, I initiate the vanguard charge. Initially, Koko views my assault as a mere toddler's joke. She lazily launches a sweeping kick to send me flying. But like a phantom, I sidestep and evade it flawlessly. In that exact fraction of a second, I seize her extended limb, shifting my center of gravity forward, and ruthlessly drive my skull directly into her solar plexus. A heavy gasp escapes her lungs. Koko's perfect balance shatters, and she violently crashes into the mattress. She frantically scrambles back to her feet, staring at me as if she had seen a ghost. The physical impact caused zero actual damage, but the psychological devastation to her warrior's pride is absolute. This is physically impossible, utterly defying the laws of reality. This demonic infant hasn't even existed for 12 months, right? Her brain works in desperate overdrive, searching for any logical explanation to this madness. Then, like a bolt of lightning, the horrifying truth strikes her. Mother simply carried this boy back from the medical ward, but no living soul actually witnessed his birth. There is only one terrifying conclusion to be drawn here. Spinning on her heels, she explodes out of the bedroom, screaming at the top of her lungs. "Mom, open your eyes. You've been completely deceived. That thing is not your real son." Meanwhile, out in the living room, Koko sprints around in pure panic, frantically searching for Mia. She wails at the top of her voice. "Mom! Mom! You've fallen for his trap. He's not human. He's a monstrous alien life form sent here to annihilate the Earth." I just stand casually in the doorway with an innocent, glowing smile, absolutely relishing this hilarious chaos. And sure enough, exactly 5 minutes later, Mia wraps up her online teaching session. Without missing a beat, she mercilessly grabs Koko by the ear, unleashing the ultimate motherly wrath. "If you ever cause this kind of chaotic racket again and disrupt my class, I will banish meat from your dinner plate forever. Koko rubs her throbbing ear, her eyes swimming with the tragic outrage of a misunderstood heroine. Mom is doomed to end up like those oblivious side characters in disaster movies. The ones who ignore the hero's warnings and get devoured by the terrifying alien beast in the end. Once Mia finally pieces together the full story, she immediately debriefs Marcus the second he steps through the door. And just like that, Koko and I are locked into our second comment. Official deathmatch. This time, Koko charges at me with explosive killing intent, absolutely determined to expose the extraterrestrial monster hiding in plain sight. I remain perfectly composed, reading her every telegraph and countering with flawless precision. My eyes scan naturally for the fatal flaws in her technique. This exact kind of high-octane sparring farm system experience points at an unbelievably rapid pace. And having directly assimilated 5 terabytes of supreme combat data, I move with the terrifying grace of a veteran martial arts master. Flawless evasion, ironclad blocking, lightning-fast counters, and seamlessly shattering my opponent's rhythm. All of these supreme techniques are practically second nature to my body now. Koko, on the other hand, might possess a few solid years of combat experience, but her stubborn refusal to master the underlying theories has left her foundation brutally unrefined. The exact microsecond I catch her overcommitting to a sweeping kick, leaving her guard completely wide open, I immediately dart in low. I execute a devastating, picture-perfect leg sweep takedown, enhanced by my lethal weak point strike. System bonus, not even the plush living room carpet can soften the brutal impact. Koko slams into the floor, wincing in absolute agony. She just lies there, desperately gasping for air, her defeated eyes locked blankly onto the ceiling. It's all over, she whispers in despair. The alien overlord has finally conquered the Earth. Meanwhile, my terrifying rate of monstrous evolution completely shatters Marcus's highest expectations yet again. At this monstrous pace, I am inching dangerously close to officially qualifying for the Elite Prodigy Selection Program. Overjoyed, Marcus cooks up 2 luxurious extra dishes to celebrate my shocking genius, hoping to fuel our rapidly growing bodies. Over the agonizing course of the next 2 months of summer vacation, my self-appointed gold-tier sparring partner, Koko, officially reports for daily combat duty. Her one and only glorious mission? To crush me in battle and expose my true, horrifying alien form. Naturally, I welcome every single desperate strike she throws, because grinding combat experience in this intense mirror match mode levels me up at a speed that absolutely nothing else can rival. And just like that, time flows like water. October finally arrives, bringing with it my very first birthday milestone since my miraculous reincarnation. Marcus and Mia enthusiastically clap their hands, singing a joyful, happy birthday melody around the dinner table. Mia gives Koko's ear a threatening little pinch, forcing the grumpy sister to join in, humming the tune with maximum teenage reluctance. I sit majestically in my high chair, gripping my baby bottle, raising it high, like a triumphant warrior's toast, and downing the milk in one legendary gulp. I close my eyes, silently forge my absolute wish, and extinguish every single candle with one powerful, concentrated breath. When the gift exchange begins, Koko reveals she used her precious allowance to buy the official Alien 5 movie art book, sliding it suspiciously across the table. She points a dramatic finger at the terrifying alien, Hive World, and asks with a perfectly feigned casual tone, "Hey, the flesh-eating flowers back on your home planet are in full bloom. Aren't you planning a trip back to check on them?" Next up is Marcus. He proudly presents me with a glowing, small blue vial. At a quick glance, it looks like a cheap calcium supplement drink from television commercials. But when I lock my eyes onto the label, my heart skips a beat. It proudly reads, Grade 1 Essence Tonic. Marcus flashes a massive grin. Drink it. Straight down, kiddo. Your body absorbs this pure energy way faster than basic crystal energy jelly. Mentally thanking my fantastic family, I tip the mythical tonic back and swallow it in one shot. Instantly, A surge of cool, refreshing, heaven-defying energy explodes from my throat, surging all the way down to my very toes. The system interface immediately pings, directly rewarding me with 2 massive, permanent attribute points. Then, several system alerts flooded my vision in a relentless wave. 365 days of agonizing grinding. And finally, the golden glow of my first major achievement illuminated the dark room. Reaching 30 points in physique meant my tiny infant body now harbored the raw strength of a prime adult male. Anticipation coursed through me as I inspected the reward. The system interface shimmered. Out of all my current talent skill branches, the beast form evolution promised an absolute explosion in raw combat power. But the real prize was the passive talent reward, Predator, a non-combat ability that defied all system logic. It possessed no level cap, meaning its power could stack for eternity. From this moment on, every grueling training session paired with the Predator trait would grant me monstrous regeneration against fatigue and physical trauma. I swiped away the holographic screen and locked my gaze onto the next monumental evolution milestone. If 30 points mirrored a healthy adult, then 100 points had to be the absolute apex of mortal limits. And beyond that threshold, the ultimate form, a realm completely detached from the fragile constraints of humanity. A single, intoxicating word echoed in my mind: extraordinary. This burning desire for evolution ignited a brand new fire in my soul. The first milestone was conquered. How long until I shattered the second? Under the veil of night, it was time to unleash my newly awakened physical limits. My father, Marcus, stood breathless on the sidelines, capturing every impossible feat on his phone. The explosive strength, the gravity-defying leaps, a 100-meter sprint that blurred the air, and the mind-bending intelligence exams that followed. Every single metric violently smashed through the required threshold. For the elite prodigy selection program, Marcus stared at the screen, his mind struggling to comprehend that his 1-year-old son had just effortlessly dominated every supreme requirement. Without wasting a single second, he instantly uploaded the heavy dossier of application materials. We called Mia into the room, delivering the fateful news that the submission was complete. A heavy, suffocating silence fell over our home as we held our breath, waiting for destiny's verdict. Just as the midnight shadows crept in, and we resigned ourselves to waiting for tomorrow's dawn, a sudden, sharp knock shattered the quiet. "Is Mr. Marcus present? I represent the Supreme Registration Office." Simultaneously, a stark notification chimed in our inbox. It was absolute confirmation that an official elite representative was standing right outside. They deployed someone instantly. Marcus cautiously verified the intimidating credentials before slowly opening the door. Standing in the threshold was Director Grant, the formidable Deputy Director of the Provincial Education Department's Advanced Talent Development Division. As the heavy door clicked shut, Director Grant's piercing gaze swept over the application details with my parents. Then, his voice dropped to a serious whisper. "Where is young Kai?" Marcus took a deep, steadying breath and pushed the bedroom door open. I had hidden my true nature in the shadows for long enough. It was time to reveal the monster within. Director Grant stepped forward, looking down at the impossibly agile child before him. My flawless speech and razor-sharp movements forced him to constantly recheck the unbelievable file in his trembling hands. 1-year-old, he had evaluated countless legendary geniuses in his career, believing nothing could shock him anymore. But witnessing my existence utterly shattered his perception of reality. He interrogated me with complex questions, testing my limits and confirming my iron-willed intent to join the elite ranks. With trembling fingers, he formalized my supreme registration. As soon as the system accepted my data, he retrieved a sleek, high-tech smartwatch from his secure briefcase. Its electronic display pulsed with an ethereal blue light. He instructed me to equip it, but the instant the band snapped shut, it permanently fused to my wrist. Director Grant offered a knowing smile. "That force lock mechanism is an absolute safety protocol. Once the brutal selection trials conclude, it will disengage on its own, and we shall retrieve the artifact." Mid-sentence, His sharp senses caught a flicker of movement. Near the entryway cabinet, our calico cat, Pumpkin, was crouching low in the shadows, her golden eyes locked onto the imposing stranger. The moment Director Grant's overwhelming aura fixed directly upon her, she froze instantly, her instincts screaming in primal alarm. Director Grant's eyes narrowed as he spoke. You stated this prodigy possesses the rare ability to communicate with felines. You are absolutely welcome to bring your bonded spirit beast along. It might just be the trump card you need for the upcoming trials. Drawn by the lure of the $10 million grant, Mia whisks me away on a midnight private jet. Our destination? The legendary prodigy selection base hidden in Jenga. 2 tense hours later, we finally touch down. We are escorted to a massive dormitory, shrouded in complete darkness. It is past curfew. I figure the other candidates are deep in slumber. However, the moment we cross the threshold, an unexpected scene unfolds. 2 kids, barely 6 or 7 years old, are locked in an intense, deadly standoff. The sheer tension in the air is suffocating. One stands with his hands proudly on his hips, clutching a water bottle like a divine artifact. He declares with ultimate arrogance, I can pee 5 meters. Can you? The other challenger merely scoffs. He aggressively slurps 2 massive streams of snot right back into his nasal cavity. Chewing on his victory, he ruthlessly fires back. I can eat raw snot, 2 globs at a time. Try and top that. Truly, these are 2 monstrous geniuses, showcasing their bizarre talents. Neither is willing to back down. A complete stalemate. But right in the heat of their battle, they finally realize an adult presence has breached the perimeter. Instantly, both supreme weirdos make a plan. Desperate dash for safety. Director Grant hastily calls out into the void. Wait, where on earth is Dr. Wendy? She stepped out somewhere. But the little menaces vanish into the shadows before he can even finish. I calmly observe my new environment. The outer walls belong to a heavily fortified military base. The inner core is the legendary prodigy selection facility. Concealing a genius academy inside a literal fortress is a brilliant tactical move to crush any external threats. Director Grant quickly pulls out his phone, preparing to summon our contact. Suddenly, a striking young woman, wearing elegant gold-rimmed glasses strides confidently toward us, clutching a classified folder. She warmly greets Director Grant with a knowing smile. Director Grant, you have certainly delivered a massive shock to the facility. This time, in all 15 years of the Prodigy program, today goes down in history as the very first time we are hosting an awakened applicant who has merely turned 1 year old. Director Grant frantically shakes her hand. Dr. Wendy, you praise us too much. But I assure you, this baby is built entirely different. Is that a fact? Then I will be analyzing his every move. Dr. Wendy lets her piercing gaze lock onto my tiny form. I stare right back, reading the official badge on her lab coat. Dr. Wendy, Institute for Extraordinary Traits. She exchanges a few hushed words with Mia, before slowly turning her attention back to me. Do you require anything special, Kai? She chuckles, catching me intensely scanning her credentials. Are you craving some milk, little guy? So sorry, I am fresh out. I shut her down, with an entirely flat expression. I consume solid human food now. Without warning, she scoops me into the air and forcefully pinches my squishy cheek. Clearly delighted by my high-level elasticity, she flashes a bright look at Mia. He is absolutely precious. Do I have permission to kiss the candidate? Oh, absolutely. Go right ahead. Our little genius thrives on that sort of affection. Thrives on it? Since when? Who exactly authorized this blatant violation of my personal space? Before my tiny vocal cords can form a protest, Dr. Wendy ruthlessly attacks my cheeks, leaving my dignity shattered and my face completely smothered in red lip prints. Satisfied, she finally escorts us to our designated VIP quarters. It is a high-tech, fully furnished luxury suite. It feels surprisingly like a real home. Rest up and gather your aura. The brutal selection trials officially commence at dawn. She tosses Mia a sleek black access card and vanishes into the hall. We have barely even dropped our luggage when a sudden pounding shakes our door. Mia cracks it open and freezes in absolute shock. A horde of nearly 30 prodigy children are crammed into the corridor, all desperately craning their necks to spy on us. Word on the block is, a 1-year-old mutant just checked in. Mia casually steps aside. Half amused and completely exasperated, she waves her hand, signaling me to step up and face my incoming rivals. I strut over with baby steps, scan the unruly mob, and sigh. It is past midnight. Do you gremlins not require sleep to function? We were deep in cultivation until these two clowns triggered an alarm. They angrily point straight at the instigators. Unbelievable. It is the 5-meter P champion and the raw snot. Consumer. Realizing that the legendary anomaly standing before them is genuinely a toddler, the entire mob instantly fires off. The mob characters bombard me with ridiculous questions. Do you still wear diapers? Do you bawl when your tummy rumbles? Can you even throw a punch? If I smack you, are you gonna run crying to mommy? That last threat actually piques my interest. I lock eyes with the suspender-wearing brat who dared to ask, and flash him a chilling, predatory smile. Why don't you try it and find out? By dawn the next day, the military base hospital forces me through a grueling gauntlet of physical exams. Blood, urine, and DNA analysis. They leave no stone unturned in their evaluation. Afterward, following Dr. Wendy's strict directives, I sync up with the standard issue smartwatch. Instantly, a glowing holographic system window materializes, right before my eyes. Dr. Wendy breaks it down. Your potential score is the absolute metric, deciding your fate in this selection program. Every single breath you take here is strictly monitored and judged. We are hunting for prodigies who can shatter the limits of this scoring system. I give a firm nod, absorbing the rules of this game. Currently, 126 elite candidates are surviving in this brutal selection process. The absolute second my foot crosses the hospital exit, the device chimes. I glance down at my wrist. A free point already? It turns out the hidden grading system is constantly being tracked by an invisible panel of judges. Dr. Wendy had warned us, do not overthink the surveillance. Just survive and adapt as you naturally would. Message received loud and clear. Now the entire battlefield makes perfect sense. My daily routine has always been simple. Eat, sleep, and endlessly grind experience points. Let them watch a master at work. Suddenly, another notification chimes. I was expecting this trial to involve written exams, brutal physical conditioning, or maybe a cage match. But the actual first item on the great agenda is an academic lecture. But the moment I read the course title, adrenaline surges through my veins. Today's mandatory lesson? The mind cultivation technique. Inside a cramped, dimly lit training room, a battle-scarred, white-haired instructor breaks down the fundamental principles of spiritual awakening. There are only 4 rookies assigned to this session, and unfortunately, the other 3 are already painfully familiar to me. The 5-meter P champion, the gross snot eater, and the arrogant brat in suspenders. These 3 absolute clowns are completely blowing off the lecture. Instead of listening, they keep turning around to shoot me mocking glares. Look at this bite-sized loser. Does he even possess the brain power to comprehend a word of this? The snot-nosed extra whispers maliciously. The master shoots him a withering look before resuming the lesson. The absolute core of all mental cultivation begins with deep meditation. When catalyzed by an exclusive alchemical elixir, your consciousness will literally sever its mortal tethers and ascend into the vast, unforgiving expanses of a higher dimensional realm. After dropping that mind-bending lore, the master summons 4 glowing crystalline vials, distributing 1 to each candidate. I casually inspect the mysterious liquid, pop the cork, and down it in 1 smooth gulp. Surprisingly, it tastes like pure nectar. But a split second later, gravity entirely ceases to exist. My physical shell feels incredibly light, floating into the abyss. The mortal world dissolves around me. Chaining my focus to the instructor's echoing voice, my spiritual essence plunges outward, crash landing into a terrifying void of suffocating, pitch-black nothingness. Within this astral trial, there is only one absolute rule to survive. Push forward, never stop walking. It sounds like child's play, but soon, an overwhelming spiritual pressure threatens to crush my very soul. Imagine blindly marching into a pitch-black abyss with your eyes squeezed shut. Even with the logical knowledge that the path is clear, pushing against the psychological terror is agonizingly difficult. Human instinct screams at you, making the sheer desperation to snap your eyes open almost impossible to resist. But right now, my focus is utterly impenetrable, and my sole mission is to pierce through this shadowy illusion. 8 agonizing minutes pass. The P champion and the snot eater are drenched in cold sweat, gasping for air. Their weak minds shatter, forcefully ejecting them from the spiritual plane. The arrogant suspender brat manages to endure slightly longer, hitting the 10-minute mark before his eyes snap open in sheer panic. He flashes the other 2 failures, an exhausted, arrogant smirk of victory. But as all 3 of these pathetic extras turn their gaze toward me, their smugness instantly evaporates into pure, unfiltered horror. Could this absolute toddler actually possess a more terrifyingly monstrous mental fortitude than all of them combined? The trio of I watch the other students file out of the classroom, their faces twisted in absolute disbelief. The moment they step into the hallway, they just cannot hold back their whispers. Come look at the absolute freak. Within seconds, a massive crowd of students comes rushing over, pressing their faces against the glass of the classroom window. There is absolutely no way he just fell asleep like that, right? No way! Do you honestly think anyone could snooze after downing a high-grade focus serum? Yeah, right. Why would I joke about this? While outside, they buzz with endless chatter, I slowly open my eyes inside the quiet room. I glance down to check my smartwatch. Only 14 minutes have passed, yet somehow, it feels like my soul has wandered for 3 full days and nights. I let out a heavy sigh and summon my glowing stat panel. The moment my eyes catch the updated numbers, a smirk crosses my face. This is the very first time my mental stats have evolved through pure, grueling training. It looks like enrolling in this elite academy was the absolute best choice. Since arriving at these sacred grounds, I have rapidly crushed my very first round of lessons. Staring at the legendary course names still waiting ahead of me, I feel a thrilling rush of pure excitement. Ever since the day I was born, my mental attributes have only grown. By passively consuming system reward points, I never dared to imagine that actual, ancient techniques existed for forging the mind like steel. But just as I wrap up the session and prepare to dive right back in, Professor Joe sharply steps forward to block my path. Later, after class ends, I analyze the updated data on my holographic watch screen. I murmur under my breath, is it truly this ridiculously easy to harvest potential points? What I fail to realize at this moment, however, is that during this brutal mental trial, only Dono managed to scrape together a single point. Squirt and Booger scored absolutely 0. Soon, in the second lecture, Professor Joe reveals the true hidden secrets behind advanced meditation training. As your mental fortitude reaches monstrous levels, you unlock a much greater chance of tapping directly into the laws of dimensions. To demonstrate this divine concept, he marks 2 points, A and B, onto a stark white sheet of paper. Every commoner knows that the shortest possible path between 2 points is a simple straight line. But what truly happens when you ascend into a higher dimension? He dramatically folds the paper completely in half, forcing point A and point B to connect. A mere ordinary mortal must walk 10 painful centimeters to cross that distance, he explains. But a true awakened who commands the supreme laws of space can teleport there in a split second. The Academy calls this godlike ability dimensional shift. By the time the morning lectures finally conclude, my entire brain is spinning wildly. After just 2 mind-bending lessons, my entire perception of reality has been completely shattered. This dimension is truly a realm of endless wonders. During the lunch break, a quick facial scan grants a free feast. After piling my tray high with prime beast meat, I request 2 thick slices of notorious honeyworm gel. When Squirt hears that I consume this vile sludge daily, his eyes practically bulge out of his skull. Are you completely insane or something? How on earth do you swallow that garbage every single day? He stares in horror as I aggressively mash the gooey gel into my cup of water. Instantly, a foul, acidic stench completely fills the air. Squirt, who is sitting directly across from me, aggressively gags. You build up a tolerance to it, I reply, remaining completely stone-faced. I give the nightmare sludge a quick stir and chug the entire thing in one breath. My terrifyingly calm reaction instantly sends shivers down everyone's spine. None of these rookies believe a literal 1-year-old could handle such a hardcore diet, so they foolishly attempt to copy my method. Just one tiny sip, and every single one of them violently gags. Returning to the dorms after lunch, I fire up my holographic watch screen. An ambitious candidate operating under the username CityPeppa has already compiled a brutal daily ranking leaderboard. 98 elite candidates are ranked, proving they earned 5 precious points in just half a day. My current placement sits at a modest 45th rank. Meanwhile, the absolute apex predator, One Punch, dominates the #1 spot with an average of 11.7. Later that afternoon, a heavily armored bus transports our class to the Grand Physical Training Hall. The very second I lay my eyes on the massive combat arena and its legendary arsenal of equipment, an explosive fire of pure excitement ignites within me. My blood starts pumping like wildfire. The moment I realize this training session's length and intensity are entirely in my own hands, I sprint straight for the unarmed combat zone of the martial arts hall. I completely tune out the whispers of the other kids. My eyes lock onto Coach Hawk and his every move. Rising to my feet, I mentally shout, "System, activate mirror mode." I instantly mimic his secret techniques on the spot. Coach Hawk was just about to wrap up this boring beginner section and move the little brats along. But halfway through his sentence, he freezes in his tracks. He locks eyes with me, staring in absolute disbelief. My countering technique is flawlessly clean. The flow of my combat rhythm is terrifyingly smooth, easily breaking through the beginner threshold. Coach Hawk barely finishes the lesson before rushing over. "Just how old are you, kid? How long have you been practicing Sanda?" I look up innocently. I just turned 1 year old. I guess I have been practicing Sanda for a few months now. The kid standing next to me gasps like he has seen a ghost. He started training Sanda before turning 1 year old? Am I going crazy? Or is this world just completely broken? I just offer a shy little smile. What? There is really not much to do when you are a newborn baby. I just needed a hobby to pass the time. When Coach Hawk registers that I am completely self-taught and reached this incredible level in just a few mere months, his hands tremble as he pulls out a premium business card. He looks me dead in the eye. "Whether you pass the academy selection or not, if you ever want to walk the path of a true fighter, you call me, anytime." 20 minutes deep into our brutal training, I sneak off to the bathroom during our quick break. But as I stand heroically in front of the urinal, tragedy strikes. It is way too high. My tiny 1-year-old body simply cannot reach it. Meanwhile, that weird kid, Squirt, stands proudly in the middle of the bathroom aisle. I bet you everything I own I can hit the inside of that stall drain from way out here. Before anyone can even process his madness, he unzips. A terrifyingly sharp hissing sound echoes through the room. Going by the distant splash, the absolute madman actually hit the drain with sniper precision. Squirt finishes up like a seasoned pro. This is my divine gift. I remain completely undefeated across the entire Jianghu. Since most of the kids here are just normal toddlers with garbage stamina, they collapse in exhaustion after a few minutes. But me? I am squeezing every drop of knowledge out of a professional coach. Coach Hawk shows saint-like patience, meticulously correcting every microscopic flaw in my combat stance. I seize this golden opportunity to completely master the martial fundamentals. As the brutal training finally wraps up, I open my system panel. The sheer speed of my leveling progress brings a wicked grin to my face. As the unarmed combat session winds down, every single prodigy gathers in the very center of the martial hall. The brutal sparring rounds are finally about to begin. Powerful coaches take their places ringside, watching like hawks. The moment the combat rules drop, martial artists of completely different styles violently clash on the grand platform. The bloodlust is incredibly real. Watching these diverse combat paths collide before my very eyes, I feel my combat comprehension skyrocketing with every single glance. With the almighty mirror mode constantly active, every time someone unleashes a killer technique, I steal it. Boom, learned on the spot. Under mirror mode, my evolution speed is straight up monstrous. My status screen keeps violently glitching with massive stat boosts. After several bloody rounds on the stage, every single stand-up striker has been completely wiped out. You guys are totally hopeless. Stand back and watch a master. Squirt dramatically shifts into a boxing stance and leaps onto the fighting stage. He arrogantly points, calling out a massive wrestler. The grappler flashes a cruel grin and charges like a raging bull. Squirt boldly closes the distance, twists his waist with terrifying torque, violently thrusts his hips, and weaponizes his own backside. Boom! The massive wrestler is sent flying straight off the platform. Squirt proudly pats his tiny waist and flashes a devilish grin. Ha! I can hit a target 5 meters away against howling winds. Did you really think I feared close combat? The entire martial hall falls into a deadly, stunned silence. My mouth twitches uncontrollably. Every freak who made it into this elite academy has some kind of monstrous talent. I seriously start to wonder whether I should master my stand-up striking skills. After carefully weighing my options, I decide to stick with Sanda martial arts. However, I definitely need to master some wrestling techniques to make my ground game absolutely lethal. I have been observing from the sidelines long enough. Now, it is my turn to dominate. With that thought, I rise to my feet and stride confidently toward the sparring platform. The second my foot hits the mat, absolute silence falls over the room. Not a single person wants to step up and challenge me. After a heavy pause, reading the sheer hesitation on their faces, I suddenly understand exactly why they are terrified. After a brief moment of thought, I flash a harmless smile and call out, "Is anyone in sit-in willing to exchange just 3 moves with me? Step up and see if I can even hold my ground. Just think of not. It is doing this junior a massive favor. I would truly appreciate it." That humble approach finally sparks a reaction. Surviving 3 simple moves. They should not end in an absolute disaster, right? Besides, doing a favor for a little monster like me means forging a valuable strolls connection for the future. It is a win-win situation. I will take you on. A boy with a sharp buzz cut volunteers. He gives the signal, and the intense sparring match begins. For the first move, I instantly go on the offensive. My tiny clothes, legs push off the solid ground with terrifying speed. I explode forward like a cannonball. But instead of a predictable head-on clash, I smoothly pivot to his blind side and lock my arms tightly around his base leg. The buzz-cut boy, however, remains impressively calm. He swiftly bends his knees, lowers his defensive stance, and drastically drops his center of knees. Gravity like a mountain. In that split second, every single fiber in my body locks tight. My muscles surge with explosive energy, and my loose training uniform stretches drum-tight across my expanding frame. Right before their terrified eyes, I completely transform, from a seemingly harmless toddler into a terrifying, juvenile humanoid beast. My raw physical strength doubles. My explosive force skyrockets to 2.1 times its normal limit. I burst forward without a shred of warning. My head drives directly into his undefended chest like a battering ram, instantly triggering my exploit strike skill. The poor buzzcut boy cannot possibly withstand this overwhelming, terrifying force. He is violently launched off the sparring platform. In the blink of an eye, just one single move, the match is already over. Dead silence fills the room. Every single face in the LARN training hall students and veteran coaches alike, is frozen in absolute shock. I calmly deactivate my beast mode. I casually stroll over, help the dazed buzzcut boy back to his feet, and flash a polite smile. Thank you for the spar. My very first victory at the academy is secured. Mission accomplished! But right before I can even begin to savor after the glorious moment, a translucent system panel suddenly pops up. Coach Hawk, please wake me up when it is time for dinner. The words barely leave my mouth before my vision completely fades to black. My heavy body drops straight, down like a rock, out cold before I even hit the floor, snoring perfectly peacefully. By the time I finally wake up, I am safely back in my dorm room. I quickly check my watch. My hard-earned potential points have leaped up by 9 whole points. Right after dinner, Mia times it perfectly and flips open her laptop. Almost instantly, the entire family hops onto a lively video call. Dad's familiar, warm face has barely even appeared on the glowing screen, when suddenly, the frantic slapping of slippers echoes across the floorboards. Me first. I miss my adorable pose. Little brother so much. Let me talk to him right now. Koko's excited face hilariously squeezes into the camera frame. Her flesh eyes are practically sparkling with wild anticipation. Did you pass the tough selection process? Did you secure the massive process? Prize money? Relax, take a breath. The official results will not be announced for 2 or 3 months at the earliest. I breath. Wave her frantic questions away, with the calm wisdom of a seasoned elder. Do not rush the natural flow of things. Focus on studying hard at school. Behave yourself at home, and please try not to drive Dad absolutely crazy. Got it, got it. Koko nods along, obediently for a second, before her brain slowly registers that something is terribly off. Wait, why does it suddenly feel like her tiny little brother is giving her a stern lecture? After the chaotic family call ends, I sit down at my desk to crush my daily homework. Since solving these advanced problems requires a solid grasp of middle school physics, I power up the Academy-issued tablet, just to make my absurd genius look somewhat perfectly reasonable. My fingers fly across the glowing screen. Digital textbook pages blur past, absorbing 10 lines at a single glance. With my speed, scan skill blazing at absolute maximum power, every single elementary school textbook is completely devoured and memorized within a mere 2 hours. Without wasting a single breath, I instantly crack open the middle school physics curriculum. As I absorb the dense knowledge, my mind flashes back to the magical video attached to my homework assignment. A powerful awakened freezing the water inside a glass in a fraction of a second, before miraculously melting and evaporating that very ice just as rapidly, so blindingly fast. They can even summon a raging tempest inside a completely sealed room. How do you even begin to explain a phenomenon like that? After devouring every shred of physics material, I tapped into my overwhelming mental stat of 27.1. The core concepts unraveled before me with absolute ease: temperature and heat transfer. But I did not rely on standard, outdated human physics to solve this. Instead, I forged an entirely new logical theory, weaving in the absolute principles of dimensional law. Right after firing off the theory to Professor Zhao, his seal of approval arrived almost instantly. And right at that exact moment, a golden notification flashed across my academy tablet. The former reigning champion, One Punch, held a daily average of 11.7. I just crushed his record, claiming the throne with a staggering daily average of 19. That impossible number dropped like a bomb, and the academy forums absolutely exploded. Plenty of jealous students screamed that the system was rigged. But then, without warning, the legend himself, One Punch, appeared in the comment section. Instantly, the chaotic forum fell dead silent. You could practically feel the overwhelming shock radiating through every single screen. The terrifying realization hit them. My 19 points were completely real. I skimmed through their panicked comments with a smirk and said absolutely nothing. Kings do not explain themselves. I opened my system panel to lock onto my next target. Just 3 more stat points left to grind. Once this crucial evolution milestone is finally reached, I will unlock a legendary form reward, as well as a brand new trait reward, both guaranteed to be top-tier quality. My blood pumped with sheer anticipation. What kind of godly power was waiting for me? Now that I had achieved absolute mastery over the Academy's meditation technique, my mental stat was growing by 0.1% every single day. Unlocking the coveted Psyche Form 1 was now genuinely within my grasp. As I ruthlessly maintained my daily meditation, my sessions stretched longer and deeper. Just 1 week later, I had pushed my absolute limits from 14 minutes per session to 17. But despite this rapid growth, I still had not touched the true essence of dimensional law. Instead, I made a rather startling discovery. Without the Academy's exclusive focus, serum flowing through my veins, I could not enter the meditative state at all. Left with no choice, I tracked down Professor Joe. I politely asked if he could bend the rules for a rising prodigy and slip me a few extra bottles of serum. He shot me down without a second thought, but at least the strict old man gave me a thorough explanation. Grasping the true dimensional law demands more than just a ridiculously powerful mind and body. It requires absolute, heaven-defying luck. Only the ultimate elites, whose physical and mental abilities are brushing against the very genetic ceiling of humanity, are even worthy enough to attempt it. For some chosen geniuses, a single session is all it takes, if the heavens favor them. But for ordinary mortals, 100 extra bottles of focused serum would be totally useless. Since I was not going to grasp the dimensional law anytime soon, I decided to just keep meditating to ruthlessly grind my stats. Judging by what Professor Joe described, the raw physical standard for the elite tier perfectly matched my next evolution target. Later that night, after dinner, I headed straight to the iron-pumping training hall as usual. The exact moment I stepped inside, my eyes locked onto a boy with absolutely no hair on his head. The kid literally looked like a fiercely determined hard-boiled egg. After asking around, I realized the terrifying truth. This was him, the legendary one punch from the leaderboard. Right now, Egghead was casually repping bench presses at 100 kilograms. He looked like he was barely 6 or 7 years old, but his muscle definition was utterly monstrous. His shoulders and arms were already bulging with freakish striations. Ignoring the monster child, I started my own brutal squat routine. Even without activating my beast mode, I could easily squat 90 kilograms. But right in the middle of my burning workout, a voice suddenly echoed from behind me. It is honestly such a pity, man. I spun around to see Egghead staring right at me. What do you even mean by a pity? I asked, narrowing my eyes. I mean, it is a massive shame you do not have an awakening trait. You know the harsh reality, right? Plenty of blessed kids in this academy are just born with a golden awakening trait. Without breaking a single sweat, they can easily secure an A rank, or even an S rank. You have got insanely high potential points and terrifying discipline. But in this ruthless world, without a heaven-sent awakening trait, the top-tier experts will never even glance your way. You might just end up permanently stuck at an A rank. I refuse to waste my breath arguing. Instead, a confident smirk crosses my face. What about your potential? I challenge him. You possess a rare awakening trait and a spirit forged from pure steel. S rank might be the ultimate ceiling for this academy, but it is definitely not mine. I narrow my eyes, trying to read his true intentions. So why reveal all your cards to me? His gaze locks onto mine, completely devoid of any childish innocence. If those instructors fail to recognize you as an S-rank prodigy, pledge your loyalty to me instead. I will guarantee you the royal S-rank treatment you deserve. I almost scoff out loud. He is barely 6 or 7 years old, yet he is already acting like a veteran guild master, ruthlessly poaching top-tier talent from the academy. I do not immediately reject his arrogant offer. Instead, I silently rise to my feet and march straight toward the free weights. I begin sliding heavy iron plates onto the barbell. Clang. After clang echoes through the room, as the massive weight stacks up impossibly high. 90 kilograms, 110, 130, 150. The so-called genius completely loses his composure. Pure unadulterated shock shatters his stoic mask. With the monstrous bar fully loaded, I shoot him a wicked, triumphant grin. Just so you know, S rank is not my limit either. Gripping the cold steel, I effortlessly hoist the 150-kilogram behemoth straight onto my tiny shoulders. Down and up. 3 absolutely flawless, textbook squats. I slam the massive bar back into the rack. A dead silence drops over the training hall. Everyone is utterly paralyzed. The little mastermind stands frozen like a statue. His jaw firmly shut as the crushing reality of my power sinks in. His eyes darken with grave understanding. He finally decodes my unspoken warning. The prodigy takes a slow, shaky breath and dips his head in a respectful nod. Without uttering a single word of defiance, he turns on his heel and retreats. Truthfully, I had secretly triggered my beast mode just to pull off that overwhelming flex and ensure my muscles would not snap like dry twigs. Since I pushed my physical limits so hard, tonight's brutal conditioning will have to end here. I signal for Squirt to wrap things up, and we begin our trek back to the dormitories. But wait, where in the world did Booger disappear to? Meanwhile, deep inside an isolated training bunker, Booger is suspended from the high bar. He is launching into wild, 360-degree death spins. He whips around like a chaotic tornado. Breaking his momentum, he sticks a surprisingly flawless landing, sending a massive glob of flying mucus right across his face. Without a single drop of hesitation, he casually swipes the mystery fluid from his cheek and devours it right back into his mouth. A sickeningly proud smirk stretches across his face. Ah yes, he mutters to himself. I can literally feel the power coursing through my veins. Time marches forward, and a brand new week at the academy dawns. The curriculum instantly shifts gears. Our primary focus is now absolute wilderness survival. The outdoor exploration modules are grueling, but I absorb the harsh survival tactics like a sponge, rapidly mastering several critical new skills. Every lesson sharpens my instincts to a lethal edge. However, despite all my relentless field work, the elusive Explorer class panel stubbornly remains locked. It refuses to yield its secrets just yet. Regardless, I cannot afford to lose my focus. Securing the psyche requirement for my next evolutionary leap is paramount. That single milestone dictates my entire future. Every other academy distraction can wait in line. And just like magic, destiny finally aligns in my favor. A brilliant light hums within my consciousness. The purification gauge violently surges to the maximum limit, blessing me with 2 precious, golden stat points. Without a second of hesitation, I dump both points directly into my mental attributes. Instantly, the glorious system panel flashes before my eyes. A cascade of epic system rewards bombards my vision. It is an exhilarating rush, mirroring the exact moment I claimed my juvenile humanoid beast form. A brand new form, a legendary new trait. My heart races as my finger taps the floating holographic screen, eager to devour the hidden descriptions. The power to manually trigger the overdrive state at will. A fierce, triumphant laugh bubbles in my chest. This changes absolutely everything on the battlefield. Next, my eyes dart toward the elusive merge trait. The coveted predator reward reveals its true, terrifying potential. The synergistic effects are simply mind-blowing. Just like my monstrous physical capabilities, my mental attributes are now supercharged. Both my core growth rate and my mana recovery speed receive a massive, permanent buff. I stare at the glowing, fully upgraded status window, taking in the sheer scale of everything I have unlocked. A profound sense of absolute supremacy washes over me. I am forging a legend, step by bloody step. But my ambition does not stop here. A daring new hypothesis sparks within my restless mind. If I can push both my physical and mental stats to the holy triple digits, hitting that impossible 100-point threshold, I might actually qualify for a true awakening. My mind rapidly calculates the optimal training trajectory. Pushing my body to the absolute breaking point, my new goal is set in unbreakable stone. I will conquer that legendary milestone. before I even celebrate my third birthday. Meanwhile, the academy instructors ruthlessly drill the other cadets. Once the recruits master the basics of not dying in the dirt, the terrifying lectures about the enigmatic veil finally begin. Dawn breaks on our first official field mission. I strap on my heavy, academy-issued tactical gear. With my trusty companion Pumpkin securely by my side, I confidently board the imposing transport bus. We are shuttled directly toward a colossal, shimmering gateway. The high-tech portal bends the very fabric of space and time, swallowing our convoy whole. Stepping through the rift, an alien landscape assaults my senses. Crystal blue skies battle against three differently sized suns. The celestial bodies blaze down upon us. Vicious, howling winds tear across an ocean of violently purple grass. We have officially crossed the threshold. Our feet are planted squarely within the treacherous unknown. Standing in the heart of this vast, otherworldly plane, the overwhelming pressure of the veil surrounds us. Professor Joe's booming voice cuts through the wind. Listen closely, cadets. Your ultimate mission? Survive this savage domain for exactly 1 month. Scavenge for rare resources, and bring them back to the extraction zone. If you sustain life-threatening injuries or face an overwhelming threat to your life, our instructors will intervene. But make no mistake, that guarantees an instant mission failure. From this moment on, your fate is in your own hands. Form an unbreakable alliance, walk the lone wolf path, cooperate, or crush your rivals. The choice is yours. The second his booming voice fades, the cadets scatter like startled prey in every conceivable direction. Fueled by a monstrous physical stat of 30.3, my tiny legs propel me forward with surprisingly terrifying speed. My spirit cat, Pumpkin, takes the vanguard, darting toward the dense tree line ahead. Hey, hold on a second. Wait up for me, please. Halfway across the clearing, a desperately familiar voice echoes from behind. During our brutal wilderness survival training over the past few days, I managed to trigger a devastating combination of overdrive and mirror mode. My skill progression skyrocketed at a blazing pace, easily cementing my spot at the very pinnacle of our class rankings. Squirt, on the other hand, is a walking disaster. He completely bombed nearly every practical combat exam. So, the very second we crossed into this remnant dimension, his survival instinct kicked in. His master plan? Cling to the strongest powerhouse available. And sure enough, here he comes. A shamelessly bright grin plastered on his face as he desperately jogs to catch my pace. We have barely charged toward the forest for 30 seconds, when Squirt suddenly lets out a terrified gasp. Pumpkin's fur stands on end at the jarring noise. Sensing imminent danger, I feel a chill, too, and instantly whip around, battle ready. What is it? An ambush. Squirt wildly taps at a glowing tablet in his hands. His expression crumbles into absolute despair. There is zero signal in this wasteland. But my ranked match was about to start. We are in the middle of a life-or-death wilderness exam, and you are crying about video games? Pumpkin whips around as well. One elite cadet and one spirit beast, both shooting Squirt, the exact same look of absolute, utter disdain. Shrinking under our intense glare, he awkwardly shoves the play device back into his tactical pouch. A massive headache throbs at my temples. Is this dead-weight teammate going to drag me straight to an early grave? Maybe we should go our separate ways, I say coldly. After all, I am literally 1 year old. It would be a profound tragedy if I slowed you down. Squirt's eyes widen in sheer panic. Please do not abandon me. I swear I can actually be useful. I am an absolute master at fishing. My secret baiting technique is completely unmatched. And what exactly is this profound baiting technique? I ask, narrowing my eyes with feigned ignorance. You just scatter the legendary bait into the stream, and every fish in a 1-mile radius comes swimming. It works like absolute magic. Now that genuinely captures my attention. Fine. Spit it out. What is this legendary bait? Squirt puffs out his chest with pride. I just pee straight into the water, and the fish go completely feral for it. Golden stream baiting. A profound, sickening sensation churns deep within my soul. Yeah, that is definitely not the kind of magic I need. I sigh, trying to shake him off gently. Listen, I am just a toddler. I would only be a burden to your grand fishing career. Our paths simply do not align. No, no, wait. Squirt waves his arms frantically. I also brought my elite spirit beast, a top-tier hunting hound. He will absolutely turn the tide of any battle. I peer past him, spotting a doughy little golden retriever waddling toward us from a safe distance. Its tongue flops wildly, panting heavily with every clumsy, trotting step. He is a specialized aquatic tracking hound. Like a lightning bolt in the water, Squirt adds desperately. Plus, my older brother told me a secret. This specific remnant domain controlled by the Academy has a pathetic danger rating. We barely even have to worry about facing monster variants. My brother conquered this exact test last year and scored a phenomenally high rank. I pause, my mind racing. Given that Squirt actually holds classified intel about this dimension, I finally concede, allowing him to join my party. Alliance forged, the two of us plunge into the shadowed depths of the forest together. But we have barely crossed the tree line when Pumpkin suddenly halts. A piercing, blood-curdling screech leaves the cat's throat. A threat. Rustle. A vicious, purplish-gray wild boar crashes violently through the thick underbrush. Its glowing eyes lock onto us for a split second before it scrambles to escape. Squirt screeches in a panic. That beast is a high-threat target. We cannot let it get away. Squirt, take your hound and guard our blind spots. Watch for any lurking pack members in the shadows. I roar the command, drawing my combat blade in a flash of silver, and sprint alongside Pumpkin. A blur of motion, a few devastating strikes, and the beast collapses to the dirt. Squirt stared down at the massive fallen beast, exhaling a deep breath of relief. My brother warned me about these demonic monsters, he muttered. Masters of the ambush. They wait patiently in the shadows until you fall completely asleep, and if you leave your legs spread apart, they charge straight for the ultimate danger zone. A phantom pain shot through me, and I grimaced. Just picturing that brutal critical hit made my entire body tense up. Is your brother, doing okay now? Yeah, he survived. We used to be rivals in archery, but he gave up aiming percent after that nightmare. So, what is the ultimate survival tip here? Simple. Keep your legs tightly crossed when you sleep. Shaking off the horror, Squirt and I secured a strategic campsite on a grassy slope near the winding stream. With our backs guarded by an ancient tree, we began constructing our sanctuary. Combining our efforts, we hastily erected a crude wooden shelter. It was drafty, but it would shield us from the unforgiving night. Drawing my blade, I got to work dismantling the boar, skinning, draining, and carving the premium monster meat. I summoned our cooking pot, brought the rich broth to a roaring boil, and sprinkled in our precious salt. In minutes, the entire feast vanished into our starving stomachs. The golden retriever happily devoured a massive, bone-in chunk of the spoils. Meanwhile, Pumpkin the cat hunted down some mutant field mice, securing her own chaotic dinner. We hoisted the leftover raw meat high into the thick canopy to dry. That stockpile would guarantee our survival for the next 2 or 3 days, without a doubt. As the night swallowed the sky, we sprawled out near the crackling campfire. We established a strict guard rotation, relying on Pumpkin and the golden retriever to keep watch. Exhausted from the battle, Squirt and I quickly surrendered to a heavy slumber. But in the dead of night, a rough sensation dragged across my cheek. My eyes snapped open. It was Pumpkin, frantically licking my face. My survival instincts instantly kicked in. An intruder had breached our camp. They were after our precious rations. The golden retriever sensed the aura too, nudging Squirt awake. I raised a hand, signaling for absolute silence. I whispered the grim situation to him. Instantly, our chaotic party 2 kids and 2 battle pets slipped out of the shelter like phantoms. We crept through the chilling darkness, closing in on the towering tree, holding our food supply Through the pitch-black shadows, I spotted a silhouette scaling the trunk. Squirt's eyes burned with fury. He snatched up a jagged rock, ready to launch a deadly strike. But my danger sense flared. I grabbed his arm, halting the attack. Activating my flashlight, I sliced through the darkness. The blinding beam revealed a small girl, clinging to the thick branch in absolute, terrifying silence. Her body instantly froze. Slowly, she peered down at us. A wildly awkward, yet politely chilling, smile crept across her face. "Well, you caught me." Moments later, back at the campsite, Squirt glared daggers at the captured meat thief. She had tried to make a desperate escape earlier. Squirt had face planted into the dirt chasing her, but finally managed to tackle her to the ground. "Start talking," he demanded fiercely. "Why did you dare target our survival rations?" The mysterious girl just kept smiling, causing Squirt's explosive temper to reach its boiling point. "Because my stomach was completely empty." She dipped her head in genuine embarrassment. That painfully blunt honesty shattered Squirt's aggressive momentum, leaving him utterly speechless. As the dancing firelight illuminated her features, I finally found her, recognized her. It was Moth, and she was no ordinary survivor. Her daily average score consistently dominated the top 5 rankings. "Your little infiltration mission cost us our precious stamina," I stated coldly, ruthlessly calculating her debt. Not to mention the battery power from my flashlight. Moth simply nodded, offering both palms up to the sky. She closed her eyes. "Go ahead. Deliver." "The punishment? Why the heck would we beat you up?" Squirt yelled, completely exasperated. "When a thief is caught, they get struck down. Is that not the law of this brutal world?" She asked blankly. "We are not barbaric thugs," I replied sharply. "But you do owe us a heavy toll. Hand over any high-tier resources you have hidden away, and if your inventory is empty, we will gladly confiscate that woven grass cloak." Moth instinctively clutched her garment tight, realizing she was completely cornered, though she genuinely had nothing else. She had absolutely nothing of value. "Would crucial intel cover my debt?" she asked. I gave a slow nod. "Speak. Make it worth my while." Moth started to unravel her hellish day. Once our group separated, she had ventured completely alone, deep into the crist purd of the treacherous jungle. Pushing past the safe zones, she stumbled upon a hidden cavern, buried within the suffocating darkness of the forest. But the very second she crossed the threshold, an ambush, a vicious pack of razor claws lunged at her, fangs bared, blades for claws. Their devastating strikes forced her to ditch her gear and flee blindly into the valley. Disoriented by the jagged terrain, death was practically breathing down her neck. But at the absolute final second, a colossal shadow, easily 2 meters tall, flickered through the misty depths of the abyss before vanishing. An earth-shattering rumble followed. The bloodthirsty razor claws froze in pure terror. Abandoning their prey, they scattered like frightened mice. After Mape dragging her battered body out of that death trap, she was completely drained of aura and stamina. That was when she locked eyes on our hanging boar meat. Desperation took over. She waited for the shadows of nightfall and made her desperate play, processing Moth's harrowing tale and piecing it together with the terrifying danger rating Squirt had warned me about. My instincts screamed that this 2-meter behemoth absolutely was not some ordinary mob. While my mind raced for a way to verify her insane story, Squirt suddenly spoke up, his face deadpan. "I have a foolproof lie detector method." He marched right up to the thief, spit the whole story out again, but backwards. "Start from the exact moment you swiped our food and rewind to the beginning." Moth blinked, utterly bewildered by the psychological tactic. But she swallowed her pride and complied, flawlessly reciting the timeline in reverse. Once she wrapped up, Squirt yanked me into the shadows and whispered, "Her story is rock solid. Human brains can only construct fake timelines in a straight chronological order. Forcing them to walk backwards shatters the illusion every single time." "Where the hell did you pick up that interrogation technique?" I asked. "My old man." He sighed. Once, he returned from a guild expedition, and I swore I had been grinding my studies all week. He made me list out every single task, in exact reverse. I leaned in, hooked, and then what happened? Squirt's cocky smirk instantly shattered. Then, I faced the wrath of his legendary beatdown. Chuckling, I approached Moth. Your debt is cleared. Vanish. She nodded, yet her starving gaze remained glued to the bubbling pot of spirit berries. And right on cue, her patio, a stomach unleashed a rumbling roar like a dying beast. I paused running the calculations on what Moth had survived out there today. Her combat sense and agility easily outclassed Squirt's stats, and an alliance to raid that mystery dungeon could heavily turn the tides in our favor. Strategy locked in. I scooped up a handful of the glowing berries, forcing them into her trembling palms. That intel you provided holds serious weight. Take your cut. Life sparked back into Moth's eyes. She devoured the loot in styes. A flash, 2 frantic gulps, and the treasure was gone. But it was a mere drop in the ocean of her exhaustion. I struck while the iron was hot. Let's form a party. We raid that hidden cavern as a cot. United front. I will split 50% of our remaining berries, plus a premium cut of the beast meat. After STs, processing the guild-worthy contract, Moth froze. Her eyes darted toward the mouth-watering stash in the sick, but suppressing her primal hunger, she whispered a trembling, "Thank you." Before I could blink, she Distaz 17R melted into the shadows, using her insane agility to dart back into the endless forest. By the crack of dawn, very next day, Squirt and I finalized our strategy. We had to breach that ominous cave immediately. Gear loaded, weapons drawn, we mobilized. 2 rookies, 1 battle cat, and a spirit hound. 3 grueling hours of navigating the death zone later, we finally arrived. So this is the hellscape where Moth burned half of her stamina, I muttered. Squirt let out a tense breath, eyeing the sinister, thorn-infested pathway ahead. His playful aura vanished completely. Stay frosty. If the Academy system detects fatal Griza, threat levels, and forcefully extracts us, we failed the trial instantly, keeping his grim warning engraved in my mind. I took the vanguard, stepping into the rocky abyss with Pumpkin standing guard. But barely 3 paces in, a terrifying silhouette materialized from the gloom. It was exactly the nightmare blade beast Moth had warned us about. As the undisputed apex predator of this dungeon remnant, the razor claw locked its murderous crosshairs straight on my soul, its gaze. The atmosphere turned suffocating. The monster unleashed a guttural, bone-chilling roar. Without hesitation, I signaled Squirt to hold his ground, and I dashed forward, blade drawn. The razor claw was completely caught off guard. It never expected such tiny prey to strike first. In a fit of blazing fury, it bared its fangs and lunged forward. Let me tell you, facing a bloodthirsty monster in the wild is a completely different game than a safe sparring match back home. The sheer, suffocating pressure of death is on a whole other level entirely. Forcing my breathing to steady, I synchronized my movements with Pumpkin. We circled the monstrous razor claw, analyzing its combat patterns. Pumpkin moved like a phantom, darting and weaving to draw the beast's raging attention away from me. 2 agonizing minutes passed, until the perfect opening presented itself. System skill activated. Beast mode, combined with instant dash. I closed the distance in a flash, driving my blade mercilessly into the creature's vulnerable underbelly. The sickening sound of flesh tearing echoed out as my strike successfully triggered the exploit. Strike's damage multiplier. The colossal beast unleashed one final, agonizing wail before its massive body crashed heavily to the blood-stained earth. First kill secured. Moral soared among the group. After catching our breath, we pushed forward into the unknown. Following Moth's detailed scouting report, a 30-minute trek led us right to the hidden cave, concealed deep within a sunken hollow. But what we saw next froze the blood right in our veins. More than 30 razor claws swarmed the area, a terrifying horde, all aggressively roaring at a single focal point within the shadowy hollow. Squirt's legs instantly turned to jelly. "We need to retreat," he whispered frantically. "If they see us, it is game over." I gave a grim nod and began to quietly back away. Suddenly, a blinding flash of azure energy erupted. From the depths of the cavern, boom, boom, a heavy rhythmic quaking followed, as if a towering titan was marching forward. The entire pack of monsters recoiled in fear. I held my breath, my eyes locked on the shadows, until I finally got a clear view of the legendary giant moth had mentioned. An ancient, rust-covered mechanical golem. It swung its massive iron arms with devastating force, smashing the razor claws away as they desperately tried to breach the cave's entrance. Amidst the chaos, it emitted a bizarre, robotic frequency. We quickly booted up the system translator. A single, unwavering phrase repeated on an endless loop. "Siri, Guardian, Bot, forever at your service." Following wave after wave of shattered attacks, the battered beasts finally realized they could not pierce the iron defense, and slowly slinked away in defeat. The ancient Guardian bot didn't even bother to give chase. Boom, boom. The earth-shaking footsteps echoed once more, as the mechanical titan vanished back into the pitch-black depths of the cavern. "So, what is our next move?" Squirt asked nervously. "Once we retreated to a secure vantage point, we are going in, absolutely. But we use our brains," I replied. "We are tactical explorers, not some reckless suicide squad. Taking on an entire horde of those monsters head-on is a death wish. Instead, we will rig the area with lethal traps and slaughter them one by one. But for a scale this massive, it looks like we will need to recruit some reliable backup." With a plan set, Squirt and I scouted the valley outskirts, gathering crucial materials for our deadly snares while hunting for potential comrades. Not long after, we suddenly overheard a heated argument echoing through the trees. "I can literally use my boogers as bait to catch fish and rabbits," one voice yelled. "And what exactly are your survival skills?" The other replied arrogantly, "I play basketball, and I can sing, dance, and even drop a sick rap." I instantly recognized those ridiculous voices and could not hold back a burst of laughter. Looks like our eccentric backup had practically delivered themselves to us. With the team assembled, our grand strategy executed flawlessly. We spent the next 5 to 6 grueling days systematically grinding down the 40-plus monsters in the valley. Eventually, only a pathetic handful remained standing. Overwhelmed by sheer terror, their survival instincts finally kicked in, and they cowardly fled the valley in absolute panic. With the monster blockade utterly destroyed, the path was finally clear. Our 4-man squad cautiously approached the mysterious cave entrance. Suddenly, boom, boom, those heavy, earth-shattering footsteps returned. The rust-covered mechanical titan emerged from the shadows once more, and spoke in that chillingly gentle, automated voice. "Siri, Guardian Bot, forever at your service." Facing a metallic monstrosity that could casually obliterate an entire monster horde alone, we dared not make a sudden move. I analyzed the towering golem intensely. Then, a profound warning from Professor Zhu suddenly echoed in my mind. When standing before the remnants of a foreign civilization, never be the first to draw your blade. Hold your fire. Communication is the key here. The Guardian bot keeps looping its robotic warning. I fire up the translator, matching its cold mechanical frequency, and deliver the command. "I require service." The machine instantly freezes. Its glowing optics lock onto my frame. "Infant. Detected." Then, the real glitching begins. Its heavy metallic arms violently twitch. 1 second, it raises its weapons to annihilate us. The next second, the arms lower gently, as if trying to cradle me like a newborn. It is trapped in a brutal logic loop. After agonizing minutes of this terrifying dance, a harsh jolt of electricity sparks from its core. The menacing blue light in its eyes fades to black. The colossal machine now stands, like a lifeless iron statue. I guess the ultimate lesson is clear. Never hesitate. Never Let your mind stall, or your own system will completely crash. Taking a deep breath, I cautiously step forward, into its shadow. Not a single twitch. Squirt powers up his aura and smoothly slips past the Titan's rigid frame. We ignite our flashlights, cutting through the ancient darkness. The tunnel stretches dead ahead. No winding paths, just a straight shot into the unknown. Just beyond a set of massive, blasted open steel doors, we discover a hidden, fully equipped survival bunker. But my heart stops at the sight. At the far end of the room sit two lifeless figures, a man and a woman, leaning peacefully against one another. I freeze in absolute shock. They look completely human. I had always pictured extraterrestrial beings as monstrous or bizarre. But as we power up an ancient recording device, left behind by the couple, the truth hits us. They were powerful, awakened beings, blessed with the divine ability to soar through the skies. Captivated by this planet's breathtaking beauty, they had forsaken everything to build a life in this sanctuary. But fate is a cruel master. One ordinary day, terrifying black clouds swarm the heavens with absolutely zero warning. These demonic clouds rain down catastrophic beams of apocalyptic energy, instantly vaporizing the entire civilization into ash. The legendary couple charged into the inferno to save the innocent. But even with their awakened powers, they were nothing against the cosmic nightmare. Fatally struck down, they dragged their shattered bodies back to their final refuge. Stripped of any divine elixirs capable of mending an awakened's core, and leaving only a solitary guardian bot to watch over their fading breath, they embraced death side by side. As the tragic hologram flickers out, a heavy silence crushes the room. Every single one of us is left, trembling to our cores. Suddenly, the shadows shift. A towering figure materializes at the bunker's entrance. "Congratulations, cadets." The voice cuts through the tension. In a mere 8 days, you have uncovered the most priceless civilizational relic hidden within these ruins. Professor Joe steps into the light, a deadly calm in his eyes. He swipes through an encrypted tablet, and in doing so, you have utterly shattered the Academy's all-time speed record. His sharp gaze shifts directly onto me. But do not mistake your reckless luck for skill. Kid, you accidentally reckless luck triggered that killing machine's infant safety protocol. Forcing your way through by force would have guaranteed your immediate annihilation. My grip tightens on the ancient camera. Professor, what in the world were those apocalyptic black clouds? The entire squad holds their breath. The tension is thick enough to cut with a sword. All eyes lock onto the veteran instructor. We call them the Star Hunters. His aura grows chillingly dark. They prowl the endless cosmic void, feasting upon thriving worlds. Professor Joe's expression turns deadly serious. Whenever their twisted gaze falls upon a blossoming civilization, they descend. They strip the planet of its lifeblood, hoard its supreme resources, and then bombard the surface into an apocalyptic wasteland. They force the shattered survivors to claw their way up from absolute zero. It is a cosmic farm. They slice down one harvest, only to wait in the shadows for the next cycle to ripen. His horrifying words hit us, like a mountain crushing our chests. A terrifying thought flashes through my mind. Has Earth already been marked by these Star Hunters? We do not know when they will come for us, he declares. But our blades must always be sharp. He points firmly at our trembling squad. This is the sole reason the Academy forged you in Hellfire. If even a single one of you can awaken to become a true guardian of civilization, then every drop of blood we have shed will be worth it. Fast forward a full month later, the survivors rally at the heavily fortified base camp. Throughout this brutal realm survival trial, 5 promising candidates were mercilessly eliminated. But my evaluation score? It sits undisputed at the absolute top. My combat ranking skyrockets straight into the Academy's elite top 10. Yet, the most mind-blowing revelation happens on my wrist. My system watch pings, finally unlocking the legendary Explorer store. A dizzying array of the system shop officially unlocked. And the very second my profile registration was complete, A blinding golden notification flashed across my status panel. Without a single second of hesitation, I tapped the interface and claimed the Explorer class I had been dreaming of. A few days later, the genius known as Egghead came to bid his farewells. Having crushed the selection trials, he had officially become the Academy's 27th S-ranked talent in history. He tracked me down and handed me a premium business card. Only this time, it was an exclusive invitation, not a desperate recruitment pitch. I completely underestimated you, he confessed. Even without a designated awakening trait, your raw power is more than worthy of the S-rank title. His apology carried genuine respect. Whenever you have the time, our family's elite guild would be honored to host you. I calmly accepted the card and gave a brief nod. Once Egghead made his glorious departure, my leaderboard rank automatically surged to 9th place. Just a few days after that, it was Moth's turn to say goodbye. She bowed her head in deep gratitude. Her remnant exploration trial had been a brutal nightmare at first, but she managed to secure an incredible score. All thanks to my hidden guidance. She was officially set, crowned an A-rank talent. With Moth out of the picture, my ranking skyrocketed to 6th place. By this point, the terrifying legend of the one-year-old absolute prodigy had echoed through every hall of the Academy. The higher-ups even locked down my records, with maximum-level confidentiality seals. From that moment on, I plunged into solitary training, mastering my skills in complete isolation. But whenever I watched Professor Joe, that old man seemed to hold the universe's secrets in his eyes. One afternoon, I tested the waters and asked, "Professor, are you secretly an awakened master?" He took a slow, deliberate sip of his signature wolfberry tea and offered a mysterious smirk. "What does your instinct tell you?" Instead of playing his mind games, I simply turned on my heel and walked away. Checkmate. He was left completely speechless, staring blankly at my back. Half a month later, it was Duno's turn to face the exit. His shoulders slumped in defeat. He had only secured a tragic C++ rating, but his spirit was not completely shattered. If anything, a different kind of fire burned in his eyes. I have God-tier visuals. I can sing, I can dance, and my basketball skills are legendary. I am destined to debut as an idol trainee. Just watch me. I am going to dominate the entertainment world. Exactly 1 week later, Squirt and Booger finally faced their destiny. Squirt pulled off an impressive B+ rank, while Booger locked in a solid B rank. Both had officially crossed the genius threshold, unlocking a luxurious mountain of Academy benefits. Drunk on their victory, they instantly filed for early departure to bask in glory with class, their families. But before stepping past the Academy gates, our trio gathered for one final feast in the massive Great Rest Academy Dining Hall. To our fallen brother Duno, Squirt and Booger raised their soda cans with fiercely solemn expressions, glaring at the empty seat beside them, as if Duno had tragically perished on a bloody battlefield. Breaking the dramatic silence, Booger turned his intense gaze toward me. "You are sitting pretty at rank number 1 on the board. It is practically guaranteed to be an S rank or an A+ at the very least." "It has to be," he scoffed. "If you do not get an S rank, then the fools running this dump are completely blind and utterly useless." Ever since he cleared the final selection, Booger was speaking with the absolute fearlessness of a true master. And to be totally honest with you, I have this crazy premonition. Give it a few years, and I will probably be the one desperately clinging to your legendary coattails. They handed over their private contact info and secret family coordinates, demanding that I visit them in the outside world whenever I pleased. Meanwhile, deep within the Academy's top-secret conference room, a storm was brewing among the elite evaluators. "In 15 long years, we have never crowned a single S-rank candidate without a core awakening trait," shouted one of the aggressively conservative elders. "I fully acknowledge that Kai's monstrous potential defies all common sense, but without a defining awakening trait, the sheer uncertainty clouding his future is far too dangerous. Yes, his raw talent might push him to the absolute pinnacle in a few years, But what if it is a fluke? He might just be stuck rotting at a dead end for the rest of his life. Several other old school evaluators slowly nodded in that grim agreement. Suddenly, an overbearing voice sliced through the tension like a master's blade. What would a bunch of narrow-minded fools like you know? The terrified evaluators instantly spun around. A white-haired elder confidently strode into the room, swirling a glass dot of legendary wolfberry tea in his grip. The sheer pressure of his aura forced everyone to their feet. They bowed in absolute reverence. Director, the great elder settles into the seat of honor. His piercing gaze sweeps across the tense room. I know exactly what you are all thinking. During the early days of the Awakening era, we overflowed with blind hope, throwing around the S-rank title like candy. But most of those so-called geniuses fell spectacularly short. Because of that, you all grew terrified, paralyzed by the fear of taking responsibility. I comprehend your cowardice, but... And then, the elder's voice slices through the air like a blade. Did it never cross your minds that certain evaluators in this room are hoarding these sacred S-rank slots as political favors for noble awakened bloodlines? While deliberately crushing the futures of prodigies born from commoners, the conservative faction of evaluators instantly turn ashen. They scramble to deny such absolute corruption. The Grand Elder merely nods. Excellent. Then let us return to the main event. The true standard for an S-class talent is not just breeding an average awakened fighter. We demand the absolute peak of explorers, the ultimate vanguards to shield humanity from destruction, and that world-shaking potential. I have witnessed it with my own eyes, inside a mere 1-year-old infant. You claim this boy is too dangerous of a gamble? Hear me now. I would gladly shoulder 10 times that danger before letting a heaven-sent opportunity slip away. At those heavy words, the administrator signals for the final verdict. The fate of candidate Kai is now in your hands. Judged under the absolute laws of Project Apex, the proposed rank is S-class. All in favor? The Great Elder's hand shoots up without hesitation. Dr. Wendy, sitting quietly at the far end of the table, raises her hand to join him. Seeing the absolute authority figure taking the fall, the cowardly evaluators finally cave, raising their trembling hands in surrender. In that exact second, the monumental judgment is broadcasted across the entire facility. History has just been rewritten. The 28th S-rank prodigy in the legendary archives of Project Apex has officially been crowned. When Dr. Wendy personally delivers the news of my supreme rating, my expression remains completely unfazed. But my mother, Mia, looks like she just won the lottery of the gods. During these grueling weeks of training, she mingled with the elite families, realizing the terrifying power gap between the awakening tiers. And now, her own flesh and blood stands at the absolute pinnacle. Labeling me a peerless national treasure is practically an understatement at this point. With the legendary rank secured and my ultimate objective complete, it is finally time to return to the mortal realm. Dr. Wendy transmits a highly encrypted code directly to my smart device. The Sacred Prodigy Protection Decree has been officially activated for you. The encrypted data on your wrist is your ultimate lifeline. If you ever cross paths with danger, flash that emblem to any authority, and the entire city's forces will mobilize for you. Furthermore, an elite awakened master will be lurking in the shadows, guarding your life 24/7. I nod my tiny head, feigning innocent relief. That sounds absolutely perfect. So safe. But Dr. Wendy, when exactly do I get my hands on that 10 million credit fund? She chuckles softly at my greed. Do not fret, little genius. What belongs to you, not even the heavens can steal away. She passes an official Treasury Vault document over to Mia. This massive fortune operates on a strict reimbursement system. It will be directly linked to your aristocratic vault account. Simply provide the royal merchant receipts for every transaction. The mountainous funds are locked in. The absolute protection barrier is active, which leaves only one missing puzzle piece. Tell me, Dr. Wendy, which legendary powerhouse will be assigned as my supreme master? Have the elders made their choice? I pry, barely able to mask my overwhelming anticipation. At my question, Dr. Wendy's gentle smile freezes. Her mind flashes to a terrifyingly powerful senior elder, a monster who completely shattered protocol, just to violently claim the right to be my master. She forces a bitterly awkward smile. It should be set in stone very soon. The guild will notify you. After branding my signature onto the blood oath of Project Apex, we step onto an exclusive luxury aircraft, soaring straight through the clouds toward the northern district. Upon landing, an armored luxury transport safely escorts us back to our humble sanctuary. We barely have a moment to breathe before my father, Marcus, violently bursts through the front door. He completely abandoned his guild duties just for this moment. I knew it. My bloodline was destined for greatness. His face is completely flushed with overwhelming pride. To celebrate, he summons an entire crate of premium sparkling nectar. The ultimate victory feast has begun. As the clock strikes 5, he rushes out to fetch Koko from the academy. Little does anyone know, the front door suddenly bursts open. Koko skips inside, her school uniform completely covered in the scotter, dirt, and battle grime. "Dearest brother, are you thirsty?" she asks sweetly. She smoothly pulls a sparkling water from the fridge, presenting it to me with both hands like a sacred offering. "Are you hungry?" she chimes. Later, at dinner, Koko gracefully picks up a massive chicken leg and places it gently into my bowl. "Are you tired?" she coos. After my intense training sessions, she eagerly brings me a fresh towel and a sports drink. She even gives my aching shoulders a very dedicated little massage. I close my eyes halfway, soaking in every glorious second of this royal treatment. My status in this household has officially reached the absolute peak. But then, she whispers, "Hey, where is my new watch?" Barely 2 minutes into the massage, Koko's forced patience completely evaporates. Her true, sinister motive finally reveals itself. Just seconds before she transforms back into her naturally terrifying self. Smirking, I pull up the Explorer Store application and show her the live shipping status. Koko instantly glues her eyes to the screen, drooling over the Explorer series logo. That is the absolute most expensive model from the Little Prodigy brand, and it is a rare limited edition. For the next 2 agonizing days, before the package finally arrives, Koko's absolute devotion to me knows zero bounds. Even our mother, Mia, can barely hold back her amused smile. This wild girl has never shown this much respect to her very own parents. But the exact moment that legendary watch arrives, her sibling loyalty subscription instantly expires. However, when I casually announce that all future meat purchases for the entire household will be fully covered by my overflowing bank account, I instantly have Koko wrapped right back around the palm of 10. My hand! Meanwhile, the shocking news of my legendary S-rank classification has only circulated within a very small, exclusive circle at the absolute top. The highest-ranking official of the Luton City government pays a highly classified, quiet visit right to our humble home. When the nervous official asks what we require, I do not hesitate to speak up. I want my family kept absolutely safe. I demand. The official eagerly agrees without a single second of hesitation. A luxurious private car and an elite security detail are instantly arranged to safely escort Marcus, Mia, and Koko everywhere they go, every single day. Furthermore, a massive, highly secured apartment in the prime government residential compound is handed over to us, completely rent-free, with full ownership granted after 20 years. Marcus and Mia just stand there in absolute disbelief. They are finally realizing just how drastically our fate has changed. Forever. During the chaotic moving process, I train like a demon every single day without a single break, anxiously waiting for my official mentor assignment to be finalized by the higher-ups. A full grueling month passes before the fateful email finally arrives. The assigned name reads, Senior Professor Zhao. Wait, it is the one eccentric old professor from the academy. So he really is an awakened master after all. Suddenly, my smartwatch loudly rings. Listen here, little one. I am your mentor now. Surprised? Bet you did not see that coming. Here is a tiny little goal for you. The old man chuckles. Reach the elite tier within 4 years. Accomplish that, and an unimaginable reward awaits you. But if you fail, I will fly all the way to Luton personally, just to beat you black and blue. I gulp nervously, knowing completely well this crazy old man would actually do it. Fortunately, achieving that goal will be absolutely no challenge for a genius like me. Regular school can wait until after you have broken through to the elite tier, he commands. As for your training, just follow my supreme arrangements. Honestly, having a powerhouse mentor really takes a massive burden off my shoulders. I hang up the call in an excellent mood, eagerly waiting for his bands. Next instructions. Meanwhile, Koko has forcefully become my daily sparring partner. Every single evening, we violently clash and practice our combat arts together. Before I originally left for the academy, just surviving against Koko's monstrous strength required my absolute maximum effort and serious tactical creativity. I had to desperately search for every tiny opening just to overcome her ridiculous physical advantage. But since returning, we're dead even, clashing 50-50. Koko is visibly shaken to her core. She has fully gone back to calling me a terrifying alien freak. A few days later, Professor Zhao's incoming call lights up my screen. Your exclusive training facility and personal coach are fully prepared, he announces. An entire premium venue reserved solely for me. Zero waiting in line for equipment. I can unleash whatever explosive techniques I want, whenever I desire. And it is only half in precision, hour away from my new home. Now that is the absolute peak of luxury. Soon after, the mysterious coach Professor Zhao arranged finally arrives at the facility. A fierce-looking young woman with a sharp, high ponytail steps forward. Hello there, she smirks. I am your new personal coach, Tina. Hello there, Coach Tina. I rack the massive barbell and jog over. Even though she tried to prepare herself mentally, Coach Tina's eye twitches violently as she stares in absolute disbelief at the 100-kilogram weights. Once we finish our introductions, I scan through her impressive credentials. Absolutely flawless. We immediately lock in a brutal training regimen I am beyond thrilled with everything she brings to the table. Then I drop the heavy question. Coach Tina, how much is your fee? For an entire year? A sweet smile crosses her face. Oh, it is not much. Consider it a special favor. I am giving you the absolute best friends and family discount. Just $2 million a year. Excellent. Fantastic. Perfect. I nod, my head like a madman. For the first time in my life, I truly grasped the terrifying weight of friendship. When I finally crunched the numbers, between the elite training facility and a private coach, I am already drowning in an $8 million debt. Thankfully, the interest rate is practically zero, and it is not due until I turn 18. At least the financial ruin will not crush me today. But with that massive mountain of debt hanging over my head, I throw my entire soul into a completely merciless training grind. I swear on my life, I will earn back every single penny. Coach Tina is an absolute beast when it comes to business. Whatever technique I want to master, she drills it into my bones. From that moment forward, the experience points for every single one of my skills begin to skyrocket like crazy. Time blurs as I push myself to the absolute limit, keeping both mirror mode and overdrive burning as a double experience boost. My physical stats explode with power day after day. But then, spring finally arrives. The dreaded season when terrifying infectious diseases flare up without fail. It suddenly hits me. I remember last spring, when a catastrophic outbreak swept through the city. Mia was completely trapped at home, forced to run online classes for her students. But a dark suspicion has always lingered in the back of my mind, that this might actually be tied to the awakened world. So, I reach out to Professor Joe, giving him a quick rundown of my theory, asking if there is any possible way to breach the classified files on awakened disasters. Professor Joe immediately fires over a secure referral code, then pushes a hidden application straight to my smartwatch. But he drops A heavy warning. Under no circumstances am I to investigate this personally. I am strictly limited to browsing the eyeshadow database archives. I quickly install the app and tear it open. My fingers fly across the screen as I type the keyword. Green. Fly. Instantly, the database violently flashes with highly classified cases. And my blood runs cold. They are genuinely tied to horrifying awakened level forces. As I carefully dig through the restricted documents, my expression turns completely grim. Every single file details a catastrophic mass death outbreak. From the horrific Black Death that devoured medieval Europe, to the devastating Spanish flu of 1918, every single one of these legendary apocalyptic plagues carries the exact same sinister trace of the green fly. After an exhausting investigation by elite, awakened operatives across the globe, the bloody trail leads straight to an entity of terrifying mythological origin.